GBNews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News. Hello, are you the famous Sue?
The whole crew hid me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
If you just tuned in, where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
From cold mornings
To warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car,
In the kitchen.
GB News breakfast is there.
with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good morning. Live from Washington, D.C. This is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. Handcuffed while dying. Police are under investigation after officers handcuffed a dying university student, that lad there, Henry Novak, after his murderer lied and accused him of racism.
I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness.
Elsewhere tonight, breaking news. Cabinet ministers reportedly tried to hide their messages with Peter Mandelson from Parliament, and all eyes to the Middle East from bombs to breakthrough. US officials say a new Iran ceasefire is within touching distance. Do you believe them? That's the big question. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent took to the White House briefing room podium earlier today.
The teams have been going back and forth, and President Trump has made it very clear, he talked about it at the cabinet meeting, that he has several red lines.
And Britain's lost generation. New research reveals young people are being replaced by migrants at work, contributing to Britain's youth crisis. But does someone want to tell the Prime Minister?
Complicated and complex. There's no single thing that you can say that's the reason.
Good morning to you, I'm Ben Leo and this is The Late Show Live. Hello, good morning. Hope you've had a good day back in Blighty. Joining me in DC this evening is my panel, Chair of Republicans Overseas UK, Greg Swenson, and the journalist Angelina Mackay. And in London, political commentator Claire Muldoon. Hello, Claire. Thank you for your company. We'll catch up imminently, I suspect. Thank you. Right, we'll start with a GB News alert this evening. Do you remember what the media told you after George Floyd was murdered? They said America was racist to its core and that police automatically target minorities, protecting white people first. Well, tonight in Britain, we've got a case that completely flips that narrative, because Henry Novak is what they said George Floyd was. An unarmed young man who was arrested by police and treated like a suspect when the truth was he was the victim. And all because officers appeared more willing to believe an allegation of racism than the actual evidence right in front of them. Well, today, Vikram Digwar was convicted of murdering the 18-year-old after a night out in Southampton in Hampshire. But it's what happened before Henry died that has absolutely horrified not only me, but the country, all up and down the country. According to evidence heard in court, officers arrived at the scene and handcuffed Henry, a teenager who was bleeding from a stab wound, after Digwar accused him of making racist comments. A dying teenager, restrained and handcuffed, drowning in his own blood. Not the murderer, who got his own mother to get rid of the evidence. But now we're finally forced to have the conversation that nobody wanted to touch. Have police become so desperate to avoid being called racist that instinct and common sense, just simple common sense, no longer matter? Years of being told that if you make the wrong call involving race, your career is finished. And now an 18-year-old boy is dead. Hampshire police gave this apology earlier.
Henry was the victim of this crime, and the fact that officers took several minutes to realise what had happened and to start to give Henry a first aid is something that I deeply regret. But they were operating with far less information than we have now, on the basis of lies, with a wound that was deep and internal, and where the bleeding, that significant bleeding, was not and could not have been immediately obvious to them, and where the pathologist has been clear that there's nothing they could have done that night that would have saved Henry's life.
It's a mealy-mouthed apology. Nobody cares. Stuff your apology. That's what I'd say if I was Henry's friends and family. And also release that body cam footage ASAP. But for those watching tonight, the damage is already done, because they're looking at Henry Novak and thinking, if the races were reversed, this would be the biggest story in the world. Look at that lad. 18 years old on your screens. But because Henry doesn't fit the approved political narrative, the outrage feels quieter, more controlled, careful. And people notice that. Henry Novak should still be alive tonight, but instead his death has become a symbol of something much bigger, a society so obsessed with optics and political correctness it forgot the first job of policing is to protect innocent people. Well, with me now is the Lotus Eaters presenter, Josh Firm. Josh, good to see you on The Late Show Live. Thanks for your company. Just your reaction, please, to the horrors we've heard today, Josh.
Well,
obviously I'm very angry about all of this. This was something that basically laid bare all of the institutional failings, and I think there are threefold failings here. First of all, I would like to mention that there are conflicting accounts here that I think the release of the footage, as you rightly said, would clear up, and it's a real problem that in matters of national importance like this, where there is actually international discourse going on, we have to basically go by second-hand conflicting accounts. That's already frustrating. But also, one thing that I really feel like was a failure was a legislative failure, the failure of the political class in having an exception for the Kirpan, for this Sikh ceremonial weapon. And it's meant to be ceremonial, but of course, if you can kill someone with it, how ceremonial is it? He, I believe, had 5 different wounds, which, by the way, takes us quite nicely onto the failures of the police. If someone's lying on the ground with 5 different stab wounds, I believe there was 1 on his face, 2 on his legs, which I believe he sustained while he was running away and trying to climb a fence, which is just awful. But he had these stab wounds all over his body, and surely the police should have seen that when he was arrested. I've even heard accounts which we'll need to find more information as the police get investigated, of people even laughing at the notion that he'd been stabbed, but we'll have to see about that. But there's also a third-fold problem here, which is that there was talk of potentially trying the perpetrator for manslaughter when he provably chased Henry down after attacking him with a weapon, trying to finish the job. And I don't understand in what world that is manslaughter. That's absurd.
Yeah, Josh, just a couple of days ago in the United States, it was the 6th anniversary of George Floyd's killing. We know what happened after that. They burnt down cities. They caused billions of dollars worth of damage. You know, arguably you could say George Floyd, of course, he didn't deserve to die at the hands of a police officer, but he had a dubious background, let's say that. He held a gun up to a woman's abdomen during a violent robbery. He
had a pregnant woman as well.
Methamphetamine in the system and so on. He was a criminal, he was a drug addict. Again, I will say, of course, he doesn't deserve to die at the hands of a copper. However, the reaction we saw after George Floyd is nothing like we've seen even after the murder of Charlie Kirk and indeed now Henry Novak. What do we need to do in Britain to start getting a bit tougher and speaking up for the degradation of our great country?
Well, I think people have got to feel comfortable in these situations, because when the roles are reversed and the victim is white and the perpetrator is an ethnic minority, people feel a little bit less comfortable about talking about it, and they shouldn't. You know, if you value human life, it shouldn't matter to you what the ethnicity of the people doing the crimes are, or the victims for that matter. And I think it's very important for people to be willing to speak up, because it is a sort of silence around it. And of course, part of it is political in that there's not as much media appetite to talk about these things. It's good that obviously GB News is talking about it, and it has become an international story. But there are many cases comparable to this one that simply don't get the attention. And even, you know, I, who read the news every day for a living, find that there are cases that I've missed that other people raise that are just as worthy of attention, and it all falls by the wayside. And I think it's just a failure to take these cases seriously, whereas the case of George Floyd and many cases of so-called police brutality in America, you know, there were lots of mountains made out of molehills there, whereas there are some very serious things going on here that are getting overlooked because of the political sensitivity of it, and it's obviously an unfair imbalance.
Yeah, well said, Josh. Great to have you on the show. Thank you very much. Josh Firm, Lotus Eaters presenter. First things first, we need to release the body cam footage. Those 2 female coppers, welcome to the show, to my panel, Angelina McCarthy, Greg Swenson. First of all, those 2 coppers, who we understand are female police officers. You know, Greg, in the UK, the requirement now to become a police officer is you need a degree for some reason. You need to be university educated. Yeah. Well, if that's the standard, if that is the standard of the copper, of the police officer, the police woman we have in Great Britain now, by the way, where nobody respects the police anymore because of stuff like this. They are so incompetent, so bad at their jobs that they can't even realise that a young lad who's saying, I can't breathe, and he's been stabbed 5 times, needs desperate help. These coppers should be named, by the way, and sacked immediately. They should have been sacked already, let alone an IOPC investigation, Greg.
Yeah, Ben, it reminds me of the grooming gang scandal, when the same kind of obsession of race and ethnicity, it really distracted the police. And it's worth revisiting the George Floyd fentanyl overdose, which is what it was 6 years ago. And it really turned the country upside down. As you mentioned, Ben, they were burning cities, the mostly peaceful protests that occurred. And, Heather McDonald did a great job research from the Manhattan Institute. But my own children were begging me not to do television on the topic, and I did the BBC anyway. And I reminded the BBC viewers, and they were probably shocked to hear it, that this whole myth of unarmed African-American men being killed by white policemen was a complete fabrication. It was a complete and utter myth. 23% of the people killed by police were African American, yet 53% of the homicides and 63% of the armed robberies are committed by African Americans. Those are just statistics. But a white person is much more likely to be killed by a policeman in the United States.
Yeah, and by the way, George Floyd is in no way comparable to Henry Novak, that poor 18-year-old, or indeed Charlie Kirk. But it is. I was reading his autopsy the other day for the anniversary of his murder 6 years ago. He wouldn't have died that day if Derek Chauvin didn't put his knee on his neck. Yes, he had fentanyl in his system. Yes, he had meth in his system, THC, all sorts. He had heart disease as well. One artery was blocked 90%. But the autopsy did conclude, Angelina, that any normal person wouldn't have died with that pressure on George Floyd. I don't even want to talk about George Floyd, it's about Henry Novak, but George Floyd wouldn't have died because he had those existing conditions which Chauvin wouldn't have known about. But anyway, I don't want to talk about George Floyd, this is about Henry Novak.
Look, in America, I found it interesting. Yeah, I know you don't want to talk about George Floyd, but the George Floyd case, the Black Lives Matter protests, they did lead into a lot of riots. And I don't know if you've been to protests, but and this happened at January 6th too, right? That was a peaceful protest that turned into a riot. So I don't know if you've been to them, but the energy really is. It's easy to trip from protest into rioting quite quickly, right? And the complaints, actually, I spoke to a lot of people who were arrested from January 6th and people from the George Floyd protests, and I found it interesting because their complaint was actually the same. It was the overuse of force, the overuse of brutality. We just entered the Capitol. We didn't need the FBI banging down our doors, right? And the same thing with the George Floyd. It's the overuse of police brutality and unnecessary situations. Now, with the case in the UK, that was absolutely, I feel like they're not really comparable because
well, they are, because Henry Novak is what George Floyd, we were told the George Floyd situation was, which was targeted racism. It was flipped in reverse. They didn't help Henry Novak, a poor 18-year-old white kid, because they believed the killer, the scumbag killer, by default that he'd been racist. So they cared more about their own careers, the police, and pursuing a fake allegation of racism than helping the poor boy on the floor who was dying in a pool of his own blood, Claire.
Would you say, though, that it appears that it's a matter of incompetence? Like, if a man has a weapon, no matter what, you should be arresting them, right?
Those stupid police officers. But it's institutional, Claire, as well. It is the indoctrination over the years of being told, oh no, we can't arrest pro-Palestinian protesters because we'll get called racist, or we can't follow up this allegation with a boy dying on the floor because he's the one who apparently has been racist. It's years of indoctrination. Then you have stupid little kids growing up, going to university, getting stupid degrees at university, and then they join the police because for some reason the police need degrees now to be coppers. And that's the result. You get people who can't think for themselves, can't think critically, have no common sense, and go against all their basic human instincts at the altar of being completely woke and PC.
I think that's completely right, Ben. And I wasn't aware that police officers now had to have a degree before they could enter either the Met Police or indeed the various other regional police divisions up and down the country. What I would start by saying, though, goes against what the movement was 13 years ago of Black Lives Matter. Every life matters. And when the police were called to that scene, they should have done a proper recce and found out quickly who was injured, who wasn't. They have eyes, for goodness sake. We're told 2 female police officers attended the crime scene. We were told it was a chaotic crime scene because of the alleged racism attack and, of course, the victim lying face down on the ground and then cuffed. He should have been thoroughly, searched, looked at visually and sounded out to make sure he was fine. We heard reports, Ben, that he tried to run over a wall, and that's when he got the 2 stab wounds to the back of his legs. Notwithstanding the fact the perpetrator actually had his brother and his mother were abating him, helping and abating him in this murder. The brother called in the 999 call, and the mother took the knife and hid it. Now, we don't know what the motive was, to be quite honest with you.
She should be deported.
Well, she should be at least held responsible for what she did in UK law, which I don't think she has been.
I think she's got potentially she's got dual citizenship. She should be deported by default.
Well, exactly. She should be. If you commit a crime and you hold dual nationality, you need to leave the country because it's just not on. You're not living as a society in Britain, and you should be removed. But back to Novak's poor family. This was just before Christmas, apparently. He was walking home after a university night out, and he was under the drink driving law of alcohol intake. So he wasn't pissed. He wasn't, being a menace. So why was he the target? Why was he the victim? We haven't heard that come out of the court reports.
Yeah, we need to see the body cam footage so the world can see for itself how incompetent and lazy and useless those 2 police officers were. And they should be named as well and never be able to work in the police again. The IOPC, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, has said our thoughts and sympathies. I don't even want to read this because it's just mealy-mouthed nonsense. Our thoughts and sympathies are with Henry Novak's family and everyone affected by his death. We're independently investigating the contacts Hampshire and Isle of Wight officers had with Mr. Novak prior to his death on December the 4th, including the use of handcuffs by officers and the first aid provided. Our investigation, which began following a mandatory referral from the force that we received the same day, remains ongoing, and the officers involved are currently being treated as witnesses. Crime and Policing Minister Sarah Jones has also weighed in. She said, "This is a truly horrific case, and my thoughts are with Henry's family and friends. No verdict can undo the pain they're living with, but I hope today brings some small measure of justice." It is right that an IOPC investigation has been launched into the actions of the police to get to the truth. OK, gbnews.com/You're Said. I just want to extend my thoughts, and it doesn't really mean much, does it? Thoughts and prayers, don't look back in anger, all that kind of stuff. But I want to extend my thoughts and prayers with Henry's family and friends and loved ones tonight. Right, still ahead on the Late Show Live tonight.
It's complicated and complex. There's no single thing that you can say that's the reason.
Well, who would have guessed? It's been revealed that young people in work are being replaced by migrants, and you won't believe what extent it's happening. And breaking tonight, I'll bring you what the government has just announced as they try to turn the tide. But first, it's being reported that government ministers hid messages from Parliament about Peter Mandelson. The latest on that next. Don't go anywhere on the Late Show Live.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I say, now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Physically, she's not my type, and now that I've gotten indirectly to hear things about her, she wouldn't be my type in any way, shape, or form.
The Department of Justice here in America is investigating a woman who was awarded millions of dollars after accusing President Trump of sexual assault, and she won her case in a civil court. Now, though, the DOJ is going after her. That's coming up shortly. But first, breaking tonight, The Telegraph is reporting that cabinet ministers attempted to conceal their messages with Lord Peter Mandelson from Parliament under the terms of a humble address, quote-unquote, motion drafted by the Conservatives in February. Ministers, officials and special advisers were required to submit WhatsApp and email messages exchanged with Mandelson, ultimately leading to the release of the Mandelson files. But tonight, it can be revealed that the Cabinet Office was forced to ask twice for those messages because some ministers initially refused to send a full transcript of their conversations. Interesting. Who were those ministers? Well, with me now is the political editor for Times Radio, Anna Mihailova. Anna, great to see you. Thanks for your company. Who were those ministers? Has it come out in public yet?
No, we don't know, but of course journalists will be asking, and MPs no doubt will be asking when Parliament comes back next week. MPs are currently in recess, so people aren't around to ask those questions. But we're expecting the next tranche of the Mandelson files, the really big release of thousands of documents, to come out as early as next week. And there was already quite an extraordinary moment recently where one of the members of the Security and Intelligence Committee in Parliament, which was appointed to oversee the way the government releases these files and to prevent it from marking its own homework, actually complained to Parliament that the government was redacting things that they shouldn't have been redacting, and even not giving over documents that they should be doing. This was a really extraordinary moment of really questioning the transparency of this process and the way the government is complying with what is legally required to do by Parliament. And there was even a call by some to hold ministers in contempt of Parliament if it carries on this way. And I think this story is the latest twist of this idea that ministers were trying to withhold emails and messages with Peter Mandelson that they have been required to by Parliament to hand over is going to get scrutinised. There will be questions asked rightly of which ministers did not give those disclosures straight away. They will say perhaps that they just saw it as work-related messages first time round when the Cabinet Office made their initial request. That's the official line, that they just said, well, we didn't submit everything because we thought it was only work-related things. And then the Cabinet Office had to come back to them and clarify, no, hold on, it's everything. But let's be honest, that line is going to look very strange considering everyone saw what the request officially is from Parliament.
Well, I guess let's start a sweepstake. I mean, I've probably got my guesses, but we'll see what happens next week with regards to names. But Anna, can I just ask you though, just, you know, of course this is a serious story. That the fact that Mandelson was appointed in the first place is a massive, serious story. But does it matter? Because we've seen no consequence. Nobody's fallen on their sword. We do that traditional thing in British life now where we just sort of mutter under our breath and, you know, nobody pays the price for it, nobody resigns, nobody is sacked, and then we just move on. Does any of this matter anymore? Keir Starmer's still going to hold on.
Well, look, Keir Starmer's still there, but I don't think it's quite right to say no one's fallen on their sword. I mean, first things first, Peter Mandelson had to fall on his sword, but since then there's been a trail of bodies, as one official described it. Most of these people aren't household names, but in some cases, very senior officials have lost their jobs specifically over this.
That's because Starmer threw them under the bus.
And the most senior of all is Morgan McSweeney, Keir Starmer's chief of staff. And Ollie Robbins as well. So you know, there have been consequences. I think it definitely does matter because the release of these documents will shed a light on the processes of government in a way that we haven't seen in a very long time. It's going to be one of the biggest publications ever. I think second only to the Chilcot inquiry into the Iraq War, which, by the way, cost the taxpayer millions and millions of pounds. So at least this time round, there's not going to be a million pound price tag to it. But it's certainly going to make for fascinating reading. And I think buried in the release is going to be all sorts of enlightening information about how the Starmer administration has functioned, how Peter Mandelson operated. I think it will actually shed a lot of light. And it has caused real damage to Keir Starmer himself as well. Yes, he's still in the job, but he's pretty powerless in the job.
Yeah, I guess my point is, you say there's a trail of bodies, but they're just people that Starmer's thrown under the bus. He throws everybody under the bus. And I suspect the ministers who are highlighted in this tranche next week, who are going to be accused of not complying with Parliament initially, they'll just wriggle out of it as well. So Sue Gray was thrown under the bus, Morgan McSweeney, Ollie Robbins. You know, the people who the public want to see pay a price for these scandals are the politicians, the ministers who are centre stage day in, day out, communicating a message to the great British public that, look, we are trustworthy, we are bastions of morality, as Keir Starmer's been making out for years upon years. But all he does is throw people under the bus. So I guess that was kind of my point, Anna, before I let you go.
Well, I think it's a very valid point, and I have to say that it's a point that is made by people privately and increasingly around Westminster about Keir Starmer and his style of leadership. And don't underestimate how that sort of reputation and view of someone can actually hamper them in terms of being able to get things done. Because, yeah, at a certain point, people will say, hold on a second, if you're never going to take responsibility when things go wrong, then why should I put my neck out on the line for you?
Yeah, interesting. Anna, thank you so much. Really grateful for you staying up with us on The Late Show Live, and we'll catch up soon. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Greg. Hello, Greg. Hello, Angelina.
Hi.
And Claire Muldoon in London. Sorry, I will explain, viewers. I think I cracked my rib earlier, so I'm in slight discomfort, and I've had a few ibuprofens. So if you see me grimacing, that's why. But anyway, I just thought I'd get that out there, because if you see me grimacing for 3 hours straight, then you know why. Anyway, Claire Muldoon.
Yeah.
This is a serious story. This is serious, of course, and Anna rightly explains why. But do you see my point, where it's like, well, so what? If all you scally ministers and the Prime Minister are just going to keep wriggling out of it like weasels all the time, nobody's paying a price.
I think it's actually bigger than that, Ben, to be honest with you, because from the whole appointment of Mandelson and from his appointment to his resignation, it's been a dark, dark cloud over Number 10. And we've seen victims already of the fallout of it. And it's not going to get any better. The Chief Secretary of Staff, Darren Jones, of course, before the Whitsun week, before recess, has said that we're not going to publish the rest of the Mandelson files because we need to make sure they're redacted. As Lord Beamish said, head of the Intelligence and Security Committee, he said there are personal details on there of, you know, phone numbers, addresses, perhaps. Fine, take all that out. But the whole thing stinks. It stinks from start to finish. Why we need to wait for the delay for these reports to be delivered, I get that, OK? They want to give them to the MPs after recess, and they all come back on Monday the 1st of June, which is this coming Monday. I reckon they'll let the MPs sit on it for a few days, and then they should be published, open and honestly to the public. And I think it'll be even more damning for the Labour government once these things are out in the open, and we need to get them out in the open. I can't stress that enough. We've got a very pivotal by-election coming up in this country, one that could perhaps feed the way to a new Prime Minister. We've then got potentially a Prime Minister leadership battle going on. Plus this, they really need to clear up their backyard before they let anything else in. Otherwise, they are dead in the water.
OK. Yeah, well said. Greg, Nanny Lulu on your say. Hello, Nanny Lulu. Hope you're well. Good morning. Thank you for your company. She said, why the heck do we have no right to see things we pay for, Greg? Utter cover-up after cover-up.
Yeah, as usual, it's not just the crime, it's the cover-up. And you know, these politicians should have learned by now. And, you know, look at Matt Hancock, who should be tried for war crimes for how he handled the COVID crisis. But, you know, his WhatsApp... He
was too busy snogging in the halls of the Department of Social Care.
Although that's not criminal, but I think, you know, the way he was... you know, basically saying to the public that you must lock down and you must wear a mask when he knew it wasn't even remotely valid, and he said it in his WhatsApp messages. So, you know, look, I think, you know, public figures should learn the hard way, or they should learn from what's happened in the past few years. Don't put anything in a WhatsApp or an email that you don't think will be public, and don't try to cover it up, because that's not your position.
Yeah. Angelina, any thoughts on this?
I mean, on Mendelsohn, I'd be embarrassed if I had messages from Mendelsohn too, right? Trying to cover them up. No, I kid. But yeah, I mean, in terms of accountability, yeah, you always see this, right? You see politician after politician, or even celebrity after celebrity. If they have the means, there's often no really accountability, and time moves on, the news cycle moves on, and it seems like things get swept under the rug. Quite often this happens.
Yeah, and I'll go back to my old point. This is, of course, a great story in terms of news content. Yeah, great. Get the popcorn out. Let's see which ministers have been texting Mandelson. But as I said, nothing happens. They all cover each other's backs. They all scratch each other's backs, and I'll scratch yours, and we'll do some deals, and we'll stay in our cushy positions and have our ministerial cars and get our expenses, and we'll carry on destroying the country for 3 years. You know,
you're so
nobody
cynical,
pays the price.
Ben.
All they do.
You're so cynical. Do you not think maybe this would be the disinfectant that we need?
No. No. It's a swamp. President Trump called it the swamp, drain the swamp. Westminster is an absolute swamp. It's like an episode of I'm a Celebrity. It's full of rats and snakes. Thank you, Claire. Right, a Cabinet Office spokesman has said ministers and former ministers have replied to requests made under the humble address process. Well, that's all right then. Still ahead on the Late Show Live, should a sitting politician be featured on a country's currency? This might get you going. President Trump could soon feature on a new $250 bill here in America, but it seems not everyone is happy. I might have to get my hands on one of those if I save the pennies. But first tonight...
It's complicated and complex. There's no single thing that you can say that's the reason.
27 migrants are being hired for every young British person in work. That's some good news for you. I'll speak to a young Brit who earned his millions by setting up his own business and moving to America. This is a great young entrepreneur who is trailblazing for the young Brits. He's on the show in just a second. Don't go anywhere.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're
the failure is
deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Have to just finish the job. They're negotiating on fumes.
Right, will President Trump sign off on an extension to the Iran ceasefire? That's coming up shortly. But first, breaking tonight, the government has announced 300,000 new work experience and training placements for young people over the next 3 years. That's 300k over 3 years, backed by major employers including Manchester and Gatwick airports. It follows a report saying nearly 1 million young people in Britain are now not in education, employment or training. And this is what the Prime Minister said. He ditched his tie, by the way, man of the people, on the issue a bit earlier.
Well, we asked Alan Milburn to do this report because I've been really worried about young people and the number of them that are out of work. This is a long-standing, long-term problem. It's been going on for many years. It's complicated and complex, as Alan Milburn makes clear. There's no single thing that you can say that's the reason. So obviously we will now work with Alan on what more needs to be done.
Meanwhile, another report has revealed that 27 young migrants have entered work for every young British person employed since 2020. A staggering figure. 27 young migrants have entered work in Britain for every young British person since 2020. What's going on? Well, with me now is the founder of Quitter and Flysaw.ai, Alex Slater, one of Britain's best young entrepreneurs. Alex, great to see you. You are a young lad. Remind me how old you are, but you've started a couple of apps which have done incredibly well, and you've decided to flee Britain and come to the US. Why? What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, I just saw the segment you just played. It's crazy. I think I do know the reason though. I think Starmer is very ignorant. But yeah, I'm 20 years old.
20. That's amazing. Alex, how did you... So your app Quitter, I'm going to try and articulate this for our TV audience, but basically it helps young men stop masturbating, right? Just explain how you came up with the idea. Have you sold it? Are you still active in the company? And why did you come to the US and not stay in the UK?
Yeah, so news on me selling it will maybe be revealed shortly. But the reason I built it is because I think young people are ever so consumed by their technology. I mean, we see this with short form, we see this with TikToks. Pornography is just another aspect to that. And it's a crazy big issue. And I was like, okay, I want to solve it. So I built an app. And 2 years in, we're at 2 million downloads. We've done $6 million in revenue. And yeah.
$6 million in revenue. So why not do that in the UK, Alex? What is it that the United States offers you that Britain doesn't?
I think, I don't know, something's really wrong with the UK. Like, no one is happy for each other. Adults are very pessimistic and they like inject a lot of their beliefs onto you. The system isn't really there to support entrepreneurs. The tax system is completely screwed up. And I don't know, like, why would the government expect us to stay when America's throwing money at you and inspiring you and pushing you to be the best version of yourself? Like, why would anyone stay in the UK? And this is the same story that a lot of my entrepreneur friends have gone through. They just leave the UK, and what happens when you don't have an incentive structure? All of these great entrepreneurs move to the US, and the US has these billion, trillion-dollar companies that improve the economy tenfold, and the UK is just far behind. And yeah, we need to stop with the short-term thinking and really build for the entrepreneurs, build for the creators.
That's interesting what you said about short-term thinking. So you think lots of the UK at the moment is moving towards, across all sectors, I guess, even if you look at energy, moving towards short-term solutions for long-term problems. For example, we should have been building nuclear power stations decades ago, and we wouldn't have had the energy issue we have now, for example. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. I don't know what's wrong with the leadership. It's really interesting, and I know obviously Trump has its downsides, but he is an entrepreneur and he's thinking like more strategically, whereas Starmer is just, he's political. He's just like a boy that goes by the book, and I don't think the country needs any more of that. We need radical change. We need new ideas, fresh ideas. We need courage. Because the way things are going, I don't think anyone's proud of the country. It's so different to the US, for example. Like, everyone has the US flag up, whereas like in the UK, all of my friends are like, oh, I hate this country, I hate this country. And obviously, the numbers you're saying about the migrants, it's insane. Elon also retweeted something. Apparently, in 1950, most births, 99.9% of births were white. Now it's like 30%. It's crazy. Things have
yeah, Alex, you are... You are, I don't want to patronise you, but for a 20-year-old, you're quite on the ball. I guess it comes under the compass of managed decline, where people aren't being encouraged to have families. You mentioned it as well, that people aren't happy for you when you do well. If you're a millionaire or a billionaire in the United Kingdom, somehow you are public enemy #1. The government will come and tax you to the hilt. Apparently it's your fault that everybody else is struggling, whereas the government at the same time are squandering money on all sorts of things. So I think from what you're trying to tell me, it's probably just a litany, a myriad of issues where even in the United States, the late Charlie Kirk, Alex, said it to me during an interview. He said the UK needs to find its mojo again. They need to get their mojo back. And that comes with simple things, I'd argue, Alex, tell me what you think, as putting up your flag, celebrating your nation and being happy for other people succeeding and celebrating your history, not sort of slagging everybody off all the time and being miserable and focusing on the negatives.
And it's so interesting, when I came back to the UK, I spent 50-50 time there and back in America. And when I went back this one time, all these UK flags were up. I think it was like the Tommy Robinson thing. And I was like, wow, I'm so proud to be back. This is amazing. Like, the country is like really coming together. And then, I don't know, I heard people saying that it's racist and like we should feel ashamed for putting this flag up because it's not accepting of all nations. Whereas like in the US, not everyone here is like born in the US, but they're accepted as American, you know? And I don't know. I think the problem here is people abject to our British culture, and that's where the problems arise. If people were proud to be British and if people were following our culture, we'd be happy. But I mean, there's towns in England that don't even have English written anywhere, and I don't know. Like, I feel like it's really becoming sour now, and I don't know what's going on. We need someone to really change things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've lost our identity, and hopefully we get it back. Alex, just very quickly, we're pushed for time. What's your background? You're 20. Where did you go to university? What's your background?
Yeah, no university. I grew up in Surrey, around Epsom area, and yeah, just been an entrepreneur. I wanted to build things my whole life.
And you didn't go to uni?
No uni, no A levels, no sixth form, no none of that. I don't think that's very important nowadays.
No, I think you're right. And now you run a company that's got $6 million in revenue, and you're loving life in the US. That you are one of the so-called the brain drain, the people who have left the UK, 250,000 in the last year or so. And yeah, great minds leaving the UK. This is what happens, Alex. Last word to you.
It's not. Yeah, I will say yes. So there's just splitting to Dubai and splitting to the US. I will say on Starmer's note where he can't explain the reason why young people don't have a job, I think I know why. the world has shifted a lot. Everyone's just glued to their phones, they're scrolling all day, they're seeing all this money, all these millionaires, and they don't want to work a job at Waitrose. That's too, like, you know, that's kind of embarrassing to them because they see the life they want to live on their phone, and they've lost the perception of hard work because the dopamine receptors in their brain are so fried, they've never had a full reset, that anything is like a weight crushing them. And that's why entrepreneurship is so important, because if people had an escape, or if the government showed them an escape, they'd feel like motivated and want to create, but they don't, and they're just lost, and they're sitting around doing nothing. I have dozens of friends that do nothing all day.
Yeah, well said. Alex, you're an impressive young man. The likes of Keir Starmer and the government should be tapping you up and saying, Alex, why is it you have left the UK? They should be sitting down with you in Downing Street and getting your thoughts, getting your feedback, and trying to work off the back of it. But for the time being, mate, thank you for being on the Late Show Live. Appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.
Alex Slater, the founder of Quitter and FlySword.ai. Thanks, Alex. GBnews.com/Your Say. What an impressive young man. I'd be very proud if he was my boy. Right, still ahead on the Late Show Live. It's been revealed tonight the MOD is failing to tackle fraud. So is it time we got a fraud czar, similar to JD Vance, the Vice President, here in Britain? But also on the show tonight.
Physically, she's not my type, and now that I've gotten indirectly to hear things about her, she wouldn't be my type in any way, shape, or form.
Justice is investigating the woman who accused President Trump of sexual assault. She won her case in a civil court, but is this a politicisation of the judiciary? Back in a sec.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/Your Say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/Your Say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is... You're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sitting politician ever be allowed to appear on a country's currency because there's outrage over a potential new $250 bill featuring President Trump. There it is. Looks pretty good. I'd have one of those and frame it in my office. I'll get stuck into that shortly. But first, let's return to that topic with my panel, Greg, Angelina and Claire Muldoon. The young British lad, Greg, Alex Slater, founder of this non-masturbation app, seems to be doing well. He made such great points, including, which I loved, just the optimism of being in the US, the flying your flag, everyone's happy to see you succeed, just basic stuff.
Yeah, he's right. He's completely right. And you'll notice the states anyway, they don't penalize success with excessive taxes or estate taxes, and look at the outcomes. In the UK and Europe combined, there's only 14 companies worth 10 billion or more. In the United States, there's 250. So that's 400 billion in market cap versus 30 trillion. And that's because in America, we're not hostile to success, hostile to business, to job creators. We celebrate them, and the government gets out of the way so the private sector can do what they do best, which is create jobs and wealth.
Yeah, good point. Claire, were you impressed with young Alex? I don't want to patronise him. He's obviously wiser than I am, but he's an interesting lad.
Yeah, and I do think this sense of enterprising optimism is very, very, very valid. And I don't think it's instilled enough through education in this country either. Everyone is taught at high school basically to sit an exam, to pass an exam. There is no training given or no offshoots to any alternatives to tertiary education. We have apprenticeships. Now, that is going to be the buzzword over the next week to come after recess. Let me tell you that. After Jackie Smith's involvement in the new allocation of apprenticeships and Pat McFadden's endorsement thereof. But back to Alex, a 20-year-old man from Esher in Surrey, left school with GCSEs for all accounts and purposes because by his own admission he didn't attend sixth form college and no university degree. Clearly there was a pathway for him through green cards or through citizenship for him to make a home in America, but he has taken with him a £6 million turnover business at 20 years old. Now that's a brain for the future. That's a brain that was schooled in the UK. That's a brain that's left. We need to start, we need to stop this brain train.
Yeah, the government needs to sit down with Alex and his mates, if there are any, and say, what's going on, why have you left, what can we do for you, what can we change from here forward? And Angelina, actually, this kid, not educated in the traditional sense, no university, no A-levels, which is, sort of high school, and it goes to show those coppers who let Henry Novak die, degree educated. It just goes to show degrees, for the most part, mean nothing. Load of nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, look, for not having a degree, incredibly impressive. I think we also live in a day and age where there's a lot of different self-learning capabilities out there. With the internet, you are able to do a lot of your own research and a lot of self-learning, which is phenomenal. What really stuck out to me and what he said, though, is how young people and our dopamine receptors being completely fried. And it almost takes the excitement out of regular day-to-day life. And I thought that was incredible. Again, that seems to be the philosophy behind his app, is helping people regain control of their dopamine receptors. So I think that's incredible work.
Yeah, it goes into the conversation about porn, how destructive porn is, setting unrealistic standards for particularly young boys, Claire, as well. Right, Claire, thank you very much. Hang tight with us. We'll catch up with you soon, Claire Muldoon. Daryl, on your say, said Ben should have a session with that young lad. I'm sure he'll something over Trump. At least he can get a Trump dollar from whatever. I don't know what that means. Steve said, I used to run a hotel for a company from India, 19 hotels. I was the only white general manager, and guess what? Replaced all staff Indian sent to the UK. Guys, you need to be more coherent with these messages. You're killing me. And Cassandra said, the lives that influencers claim they're living are often fake on social media, not reality. Unfortunately, many people believe the lie and think that everybody else is living better than they are. Debbie said, wow, what an exceptional young man you had on your show just then, Ben. You're right in saying the government should sit down with Alex and talk about what they could do to help the young's lives better, or help them move on in life. And hey you, said, Ben, please have that amazing young man on again. He's exactly what our British young people need to hear. More coming up on The Late Show Live, including this.
The teams have been going back and forth, and President Trump has made it very clear, he talked about it at the cabinet meeting, that he has several red lines.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good morning. Hope you're well. Live from Washington, this is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. And breaking tonight, Cabinet ministers reportedly tried to hide their messages with Peter Mandelson from Parliament. A who's who done it? A list will be revealed next week. Elsewhere in the Middle East, from bombs to breakthrough, US officials say a new Iran ceasefire is within touching distance. I say, don't hold your breath. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent took to the White House briefing room podium a bit earlier today.
The teams have been going back and forth, and President Trump has made it very clear, he talked about it at the cabinet meeting, that he has several red lines.
Also tonight, revenge or justice? The Department of Justice is investigating the woman who won millions after accusing President Trump of sexual assault.
I have no idea who she is, where she came from. This is another scam. It's a political witch hunt. And somehow we're going to have to fight this stuff.
And Trump's money move. Treasury officials are reportedly pushing plans for a $250 bill featuring Donald Trump's face. It's to celebrate America's big birthday, of course, in just a few months. But is it the right move?
Don't think that there's anything untoward about having the President of the United States, the person who was President of the United States, on the 250th anniversary bill.
I like that. I'd save up the pennies and have one on my wall framed back home in Blighty. I'm Ben Leo and this is The Late Show Live. Good morning, welcome to The Late Show Live. Joining me in Washington this evening is my panel. They've just popped out, Angelina McCarthy and Greg Swenson, and Claire Muldoon back home in Britain. For the time being though, all eyes on the Middle East, because it's being reported that the US and Iran have agreed upon a framework for a possible 60-day extension to the current ceasefire deal, and it's now awaiting sign-off from President Trump and senior Iranian figures. And also breaking tonight, in an upcoming interview with Fox News, the president revealed what could trigger US forces to relaunch an offensive military campaign against Iran.
Is there a line that they would cross for you to go on the offensive again militarily?
Well, a deal that wasn't going to be good for us is the line, ultimately, because, you know, I'm playing it out and we're going to see, and that's what I do. I negotiate, they negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards because we've defeated them militarily. Look, they have no Navy. Every ship, they have 159 ships. Every one of them are at the bottom of the sea. Every single one. We take pictures of them. We have people going down taking pictures of hundreds of ships. Their Navy is totally gone, 100%. Their Air Force is totally gone, 100%. Their military, we've sort of left it alone because we think that their military is somewhat moderate. They have other people that aren't moderate. We've taken them out. We've taken different forms of leadership out. We've actually left their military alone. People would be surprised to hear that, because mistakes have been made in wars where you wipe out everybody and then you have a country that's, you know, for 40 years can never rebuild. You look at what happened with Iraq. We did so bad. That was such a foolish thing, what we did.
Well, I've got an all-star lineup here in Washington, D.C. White House and Pentagon reporter at the Military Times, Tanya Nouri, and geopolitical expert Kate Jones join me live in the studio. Ladies, hello, good evening. Thank you for your company. I would say ladies first, but I've got two. So,
yes.
Kate.
No,
Tanya.
I'm so excited.
I'll go with Kate.
Sure.
Look, I'm sorry to be frank about the Iran situation, but I keep saying night after night, until we have a resumption of hostilities and violence and President Trump turns the screw, or they sign a deal, I'm kind of losing motivation for it.
Well, sure, everyone's a bit tired of it, but I believe what's going to happen is most likely this 60-day ceasefire, which will involve all of the negotiations. Internally, Iran has major issues because the political, the IRGC, and the clerics all have a difference of opinion, and this sort of architectural piece of their political collaboration is not working at all. I think we can see that in the way that they're not making any kind of settlement. There are absolutely two major differences. The Iranians do want to keep their material, their nuclear material in their program, and they want to have some kind of control over the strait. Those are consistent with everything they've done for the last 20 years. Or maybe it's.
But they're red lines, right?
Those are red lines. Those are Iranian red lines. The US has a red line too. That's get rid of all the nuclear material, open the Strait of Hormuz, and not have control over this and follow sort of international law. So 60 days of discussing that. And what are the pressure points? The pressure points are all financial. So essentially, economic fury, and what we saw today with Scott Bessent in the Treasury, was making all of those financial pressures very clear. Anyone who works with Iran, the entire ecosystem is in jeopardy. And then this pressure is, you know, continuing the blockade of Iranian oil. So.
And those billions in assets still frozen during this 60 days?
What might occur is, as they feel pressure internally and they start to talk better amongst each other, that the pressure, the financial pressure, begins to cause the gap between some kind of concessions. But everything will be carrot and stick, and everything will be slow on both sides.
Yeah, interesting. Tanya, Iran did fire a ballistic missile towards Kuwait and a US base there on Wednesday. That luckily hasn't sort of sparked a massive wider response.
Yes, but I do think that it's interesting that these negotiations are taking place against the backdrop of continued strikes from the U.S. military and also the Islamic Republic. They are still firing shots at each other. U.S. Central Command, they say that these shots are defensive and that the Iranians still pose a threat to American troops, and that's why everything that they're doing is defensive, but it's still very active over, you know, in the Middle East.
President Trump was talking there to his daughter-in-law, and he was saying, I am prepared to go again and turn the screw and resume the violence. Do you believe him?
Yes, I do.
Because gas prices are still high, the midterms are getting ever closer.
Yes.
You believe him?
I do believe him because CENTCOM is still have a massive posture in the region, and he has said it repeatedly that he is ready to make that command. The White House says that all options remain on the table, so they do have the military power to do so, and they're just waiting for him to give the word.
Kate, who's dealing with who? Is it still Kushner and Witkoff dealing with? I mean, who is it? The RGC, the ministers?
No.
Do we know?
Pakistan, all the partners in the region, so Qatar's engaged. So, but they have an internal dispute. The IRGC doesn't want to give up. The political classes seem more interested in doing so. Each one has a different priority. Look at the internet being shut back on. Right?
Yeah, that was
They turned on the internet, well, because they're having financial problems. That squeeze of that extended period, what was it, 180 days without any internet, the businesses can't function. So they want it turned on. They brought the Chinese in to help them to create an internet which doesn't allow.
Oh,
right.
Did they?
So yes,
they brought the Chinese in for that.
Yes, of course they did.
So the new internet they've turned on is what exactly? How does it look?
So what they're trying to do, they're using Chinese equipment, and they're attempting to have the Chinese assist them in having a more limited internet, so that they can, squeeze out the problem sets like the Chinese do, and then focus on the economics and the commercial side, and the areas in which they do want to communicate using the internet.
And you think that's a sign of economic distress?
Yes, absolutely.
And of course, they would keep the civilians, the public, off the internet still, as far as you understand?
Off of this sort of social media, that as we know it or they knew it, I think that's about creating a whole restrictive internet system. So
as
yes,
we see in China, yeah.
Yes, as we see in China, but that is an absolute sign that they are struggling, and I think that's also pressure from the business leaders that are there.
Yeah. Okay. Tanya, finally with you, this is sitting apparently on President Trump's desk in the Oval Office. It's down to him. Any idea on timelines?
No, and Vice President J.D. Vance a couple hours ago, he said that it's currently TBD, to be determined, is exactly what he said about this framework that's on the Resolute desk at the moment. So we will see. And
just your reaction, Tanya, as well to Trump's comments, was it yesterday or at the cabinet meeting where he said he doesn't care about the midterms?
Yes, that was a very interesting point that he made, and he's repeatedly said that he doesn't really care about what Americans are kind of facing at the moment, because the bigger picture is his mission with Iran in order to make sure that they never have a nuclear weapon. So it appears that in his mind that is the bigger picture for him, and if the midterms kind of don't go his way, or if Americans are facing higher costs at the moment, it's just the cost that we have to pay in America to kind of make sure that the regime doesn't have a nuclear weapon.
Just finally, Kate, I guess President Trump saying that shows, I would argue, his authenticity in this conflict, that yes, he could have not done this conflict, he could have not got involved, because he's aware that gas prices would have gone up, the midterms would have gone awry. But I guess him saying that is proof, is it not, that he is serious about Iran not having a nuclear weapon, and they were close to getting one.
He's very serious about that, but there are other reasons. I mean, look at the way that this is changing the map. There are all kinds of geopolitical pressures at play against China and others. So I think what it's doing is revealing the real economy of the globe. And I think take the comments from Scott Bessent today. He talked about statesman versus politician. Take it to heart, because he's saying that a statesman would ensure that there wouldn't be this nuclear material. So I think that's what they're indicating.
Yeah.
And I think it's full-on economic statecraft that they're launching at a really epic level. I mean, we've never seen anything like this coming out of the Treasury.
I mean, so it's a bit of a cliche, but some would say they say 5D chess, don't they? Yeah. As opposed to sort of isolated moments of Trump madness, just being a nut job in the Oval Office and firing off different orders everywhere. Kate, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And you, Tanya, thank you for coming in this evening. gbnews.com/your say. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe this weekend, potentially. The deal is on President Trump's desk. It is, of course, on the Iranians as well, and the Vice President. But who knows? Maybe we'll get some proper progress imminently. Right, still ahead on The Late Show Live. The woman who accused President Trump of sexual assault is now under investigation herself for perjury by the DOJ. But is this politicisation of the justice system? But first tonight...
Men playing in women's sports. Would you believe we have an argument over that?
Have religious institutions become too political? One church has been accused of brazenly breaking the law by allowing transgender people to use women's bathrooms. I had my own experience today of a church here in DC. I'll tell you all about that after the break. This is The Late Show Live. Don't go anywhere.
warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Another warm day in the southeast, so it will be cooler than yesterday. Dry for many of us, but there is a risk of showers and some thunderstorms, particularly in the southeast later on today. A damp start for parts of northern Scotland, some rain across parts of Northern Ireland too, but it's across the south we could see some thunderstorms build up from the near continent later on this afternoon. Dry weather in between these areas for much of England and Wales, and it will still feel warm out there. Temperatures in the mid-20s for many areas across central and southern areas, in the high teens, low 20s further north than that. Through this evening, those showers across the southeast where they do form should push away, and then we look to the north where low pressure is still dominating. Quite a brisk westerly breeze affecting coastal areas and the high ground of Scotland. Some outbreaks of rain, relatively light through this evening. Should be a dry end to the day across Northern Ireland, Northern England, parts of Wales, central areas too. You can see temperatures still in the mid-20s, so it will still feel quite warm out there to end this week of exceptional heat. And then overnight, clear skies for many areas. We've still got quite warm air with us, so it's still going to be a fairly warm night, though certainly cooler than it has been lately. So that may bring some relief if you've been struggling to sleep throughout this week. Temperatures by tomorrow morning, just 11 or 12 degrees for many of us. Some areas seeing single figures to start the day, which could be the first time in a little while. Now, this band of rain pushes into parts of Northern Ireland, much of Scotland throughout Saturday. As we look further east, it looks much drier through the day, so plenty of sunny and warm weather to come through Saturday across parts of England and Wales predominantly. We'll feel warm in that sunshine still, not quite as warm as it has been, but still highs of 28 in the southeast and in the 20s elsewhere, so perhaps a little bit more pleasant. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Right, breaking tonight, MPs have warned that the Ministry of Defence is failing to adequately tackle what's being branded the apparent normalisation of fraud within its ranks, costing an estimated £1.5 billion annually. In a scathing report set to be published later today, the Commons Public Accounts Committee has called for a change of culture to address the significant fraud risk and has revealed that the department is only recovering a mere 48 pence for every £1 spent on combating fraud and economic crime, falling far short of the government's target of £3 for every £1 recovered. So is it time Britain got a fraud czar similar to right here in the United States? JD Vance, the Vice President, is heading up the fraud mission in America. Joining me is my panel, Angelina and Greg, and Clem doing down the line in London. Lots going on with fraud here, Greg, not least the Somali community in Minnesota. $90 million worth of fraud indicted the other day. JD Vance tasked with overseeing all of that, California as well. Do we need the same in Britain?
Oh, definitely. And you look at what's happened here, the fraud is just so rampant, especially around welfare payments here in the U.S., food stamps, Medicare, all kinds of fraud. And it's not just in Minnesota, that's the most obvious one, but they had a big case in Wyoming this week. And the Treasury Secretary today in the press conference was talking about potentially $500 billion, or there's $500 billion annually in fraud. If they could just recover half of that, that's $250 billion. And we have a $1.7 trillion deficit every year. That's a big chunk. So it's a start, and I think the UK should do the same thing.
Angelina, those are crazy figures. $500 billion annually in fraud. Everyone's on the scab.
Yeah, I mean, those are crazy numbers. There definitely is, fraud going on. The biggest example of fraud, we saw during COVID. Remember when the government was giving out mass handouts, and you had all these different bodies claiming that they were helping the public, filing for government kind of funding claims and getting really rich off of it. So you definitely have these cases in social welfare programs, and it's super important to be regulating it to make sure that the fraudulent cases, people aren't extorting our system in order to increase their own financial wealth.
Yeah, COVID was nuts, Claire. I remember I had associates, not friends, but people I knew who would they'd opened a business and then get a COVID loan of like 50 grand and then just never pay it back. And they must have lost billions and billions, the UK government. But 48 pence, Claire, for every £1 recovered in the MOD, far behind their target of £3 for every £1. I guess when you give, it's just government, isn't it? It's local government, it's central government. They're just getting ripped off left, right and centre.
Well, it is, but it goes beyond that as well, because we're told that the MOD fraud at the top of it is at the hands of external contractors, criminal syndicates and indeed rogue personnel. Now, if we've got a highly complex supply chain and purchasing going on, I don't want to bring Nicola Sturgeon back into this, nor her embezzled husband Peter Murrell, but there has to be checks and balances in government, especially when dealing with public coffers and dealing with public supply chain. Look at HS2. That's an absolute disgusting nightmare of a thing that's probably never going to happen. North of the border, Scotland, £500,000 embezzled from ring-fenced funds, gone undetected, unnoticed, until someone decided to call the plug on that and do some investigation. And now the MOD, 1.5, as you quite rightly said, £1.5 billion worth of fraud. I mean, it's clearly not in the same scale as what Greg was talking about, but nonetheless, in wee old Blighty here, it's still a lot of money.
Yeah, Claire, off the top of your head, maybe you don't know the answer, because I'd probably struggle as well if I asked the same question to myself, but where do you think the most obvious place to recoup some fraud would be in Britain? Like welfare payments, do you think? I mean, benefits?
Well, welfare payments is very, very difficult because there's not that much of a majority of welfare claimants that are illegal or defrauding the system. You'll find that it's more often than not the benefit bill is big because we've enabled people to draw on benefits and welfare. So I think the cuts, we are running money in the NHS is a loss leader, in my view, and it's not been defrauded as much as it possibly could be. But you mentioned Hancock and you've mentioned COVID, you've mentioned lockdown. One of the biggest contracts that Hancock gave was to Baroness Mone. Remember that storm in a D cup? And she's still in the House of Lords. Come on, we are useless at checks and balances. We seem to be too trusting. Well, I'm sorry, I would have said give it to a Scot to take charge of because we're ruthless like that. But I can't even say that now because of what they've done with the SNP.
Oh, give it to Nicola Sturgeon. She knew nothing about it. She could be the UK's new fraud czar because she was married to Murrell for 15 years.
Are you telling me that tricky Nikki that blocked me on Twitter, Claire, she couldn't deal with the mirror being put up to her wee face like wee Jimmy Cranky? She just couldn't do it.
Jimmy Cranky.
And she did know. I'm sure she knew.
She was married to him for 15 years and didn't even know he bought a camper van.
And she didn't even, the camper van was parked outside his parents' house for 2.5 years and she didn't notice it.
I wouldn't notice if my wife came home with a £2 coffee machine.
It was £3.5 grand. And I'll tell you something else. See, for every brand on that list, I bet you every one of the brands, I bet it's hurt the brand. I bet they're weeping, wailing and gnashing of teeth. Oh my goodness me, I was on that Peter Murrell list. What are we going to do?
Yeah, get her in, get Sturgeon in. I'm sure she's bored being out of politics now. I'm sure
she wouldn't answer to me. She's already blocked me, so we'll need to get her on. And she's never... Because I called her out on a couple of things. No, it was never personal. It was mainly calling out. I was trying to check things and make a balance of it. Block. That's what the SNP are like.
Blocked. Well, there you go. Says it all. We see massive waste here, not necessarily fraud. Maybe it is fraud. Maybe things are so obvious and so insane, Greg, like Steve Hilton, the nominee for Governor of California, the British guy. He was doing a social media video the other day saying that the rail link from one part of California to the south, north to south, like HS2, is $200 billion over budget and 30 years late.
Yeah,
that is insane.
It's a complete hoax, and it's basically basically been a license to steal from the taxpayers. Because, by the way, nobody wants a rail in California. It's not a railroad state. The people drive in California. No one would ever use this train. I hope it never gets built. But yeah, the sunk cost is incredible already. And so, but I think a lot of these governments, they look the other way. You know, Minnesota was the classic example, but in a lot of these blue cities, blue states, they look the other way because it's part of their voting base. You know, they want these people to steal from taxpayers because they love distribution or redistribution conceptually, but if people want to line up and at the trough and take taxpayer money, they're happy to do it.
Yeah, Angelina, talking of Greg's point, did you see Tim Walz today, the governor of Minnesota, who was asked about the $90 million in Somali fraud, mostly Somali, they've just busted, the DOJ's busted, and he said, this was his response, we'll try and get the clip for later in the show, he said, yeah, but white fraud is bigger. You know, we need to start asking ourselves as white men about white fraud.
What?
That it pertains to Greg's point. Yeah. Just totally a bit of it. Like.
I mean, that sounds like a distraction to me, right? A distraction from what the issue is. The overall issue is fraud in general. Now, I have a problem with governments and how they're organized, right? Our bureaucracies are often so big that it really leaves no room for efficiency and productivity. And that's why Elon Musk was so big, right? He came in, he's like, I'm going to doge everyone. I'm going to come in, clean it up, but we haven't really seen that efficiency pick up, or especially around the United States. What we're doing is we're cutting the government, but we're not. It's a culture, it's a mindset, and you see that in the young tech startup companies in Silicon Valley and the newer companies. You see this mindset of like, we're focused on efficiency. How can we be more efficient? How can we run this better? In bureaucracies, everything is so just stagnant and stable, and I have a steady job and I have a pension and I don't really have to earn or prove myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. And Elon would have stuck around, I suspect, if he wasn't given a black eye by someone of the cabinet. Any ideas who that was, Angelina?
I have no idea.
No? I think I know. Greg, you know?
I can't confirm. Nor did I.
I know for a fact.
I know who you're talking about.
I'm not going to throw him under the bus there.
You're not.
Claire, any guesses who walloped Elon Musk?
Sorry? No guesses. No one wants to guess.
Any guesses who walloped Elon Musk?
It would probably be Pete Hegseth or someone like that.
No, not quite. I can't say anyway.
I will not be on record. Kind of throwing it. I could see him doing it.
JD?
Yeah, I could see him throwing it. I couldn't see Marco. He's too disciplined.
No, it's probably someone you don't expect, but the base love him. Anyway, we'll just say that. gbnews.com/your say. Get your votes in. Who walloped Elon Musk? Who gave him that infamous black eye, which was pretty much his exit call from the White House? Claire, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Right, let's move on, shall we? Nicola Sturgeon has said in a statement, I want to reiterate, I had no knowledge or suspicion whatsoever that personal items had been purchased using S&P funds. I was cleared of any wrongdoing after a lengthy and thorough investigation in relation to many of the items in question, for example, expensive watches and games consoles. I wasn't aware of having them been purchased at all. Nicola Sturgeon there, ex-wife of Peter Murrell for 15 years. Still ahead on the Late Show Live, an Austrian court has convicted a man of planning to attack a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna nearly 2 years ago. Chilling echoes of Southport. More details on that in just a sec. But first tonight, a Church of England minister in Sunderland is facing backlash after displaying signs welcoming trans women into female-only toilets. The church has been accused of defying last year's Supreme Court ruling, which defined woman in law by biological sex. But Sunderland minister insists it is not breaking any law, arguing updated Equality Commission guidance hasn't yet taken effect. So have religious institutions become too political? And my panel here, Greg, Angelina, Claire. I will say, I'm not sure if we've got that picture, but I was driving past, Greg, a church here in DC today, completely swamped with trans flags from top to bottom. There it is. There's my picture today. Why is that necessary? I don't care who you sleep with. We don't do it with straight flags this isn't, by the way, a trans thing or a gay thing or whatever. It's not about your sexual preference. It's a confusion as to why a church, which is the house of God, needs to do this. What is this about? Can somebody help me?
I think it's especially rampant in Washington.
Why,
maybe
though?
it's because it's a very liberal town, and I think the churches in general are extremely liberal. And we see that in the UK with the Church of England. And as Douglas Murray rightly pointed out, the best way to see social distancing is just go to any Church of England service on a Sunday. So, you know, look, I think it's one of the reasons why church attendance is down in the UK and as well, and actually rebounding in the US. But it's not churches like this. It's more the traditional, like, for example, the Catholic Latin Mass is having a huge rebound. Kids are going, you know, 20-somethings are going to church, but they're choosing the more traditional churches, the more, you know, sort of orthodox churches, not these woke lefty churches with rainbow flags out front.
I just don't get it. Again, Claire, I say it's not an anti-trans thing or a gay thing. People have been messaging me on X today saying, well, hang on a minute, I thought you were all pro-gay and liberty and stuff. I was like, I am. I just don't know why it needs to be on a church.
No, well, it doesn't at all, and that's the thing. And I remember a couple of years ago on an ITV programme, breakfast show programme in this country, and I mentioned we were discussing the whole concept of the pride flag per se, and I said, you know, pride comes before the fall, and I was proven correct, because what's happened is it's become very, very divisive, and it was supposed to be used by the traditional #BeKind posse and the hashtag we're all in this together posse, but instead it's actually a symbol and a flag of division. It's saying, well, you can't be part of us unless you're one of those. It's very much othering other people, and especially when it comes down to churches. They are there for all, not just anybody, not just some people, not just some people of your own sexual proclivity. You're there for all. Therefore, you shouldn't be politicising anything. And I wouldn't say that the pride flag or the trans flag was set up as a political thing at the conception of it, but now I think it is. It's a complete political stance on things. It's showing people, look, we don't actually care about what the government or the Supreme Court ruling has been in this country, as we've seen with the vicar of one of the churches in Sunderland and Tyne and Wear. She's put up a pride flag, a trans flag, or a sign saying, you can come, trans women are welcome to use the ladies' loos in our church. You're welcome. It's all a case of you're welcome. You're only welcome, really, if you agree and abide by what we say, not what the Supreme Court of the land says. And their caveat is, well, the law doesn't come into force until I think it was the 26th of May, which is 2 days ago. And you've got 40 days within that to make your environment safe for women and men, and divide that way completely. But to be honest with you, I am absolutely shocked that we're even discussing this. I don't know where, as a global universe, we have got to with this absolute nonsense of, you know, you can be what you want to be. You've always been able to be what you want to be. Just don't encroach on women's spaces in order to be what you want to be. Where has this all come from? Why are there so many trans people now? What's the answer? What's the problem? And I think it goes back to teaching. And I think it goes back to teaching children and telling them they can be whatever they want. And the affirmation of those said children is actually defeating them, defeating their personalities, defeating their souls, and actually might be killing them. And it's definitely killing society.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, arguably it does put young people at harm in some cases, because, I mean, also the trans movement, I argue all the time, and somebody's probably going to clip this up, I don't care, is deeply homophobic in its essence, because you're taking young gay kids who are maybe confused, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, whatever, and they're saying, well, I'm a bit confused because I fancy somebody of the same sex, and instead of saying, well, no, that's fine, you're just gay, that's fine, that's completely normal, we'll deal with it, it's fine, normal. Just you'll have a great life, you know, probably a more fun life than most straight people. But instead of saying that, they'll say, oh, well, God has made a mistake. God has made a mistake here, and you've been born in the wrong body. Well, this is the demonic part of it. They'll say, something's gone wrong and you are a mistake. So you've been born in the wrong body because you fancy the same sex. You're not gay, you're born in the wrong body. So what we need to do is give you puberty blockers, hormones, and then eventually maybe sort of 10 years down the line will chop your genitals off as well. That's why it's so demonic, which is why, by the way, Angelina, I get so exercised, like I've been possessed myself, when I see churches draped in the trans flag.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's demonic. That part of it with the children is demonic.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Look, I think that the trans community, they're often very there for people when they're ready to transition, but I've actually met with some people who, you know, they're interested in detransitioning, that they felt that they were transitioned too young and that it was pushed on them. And now there was a young woman, originally a woman, who transitioned to a man, had all the support in the world, and then when she decided, actually, this isn't what I want to transition back to a woman, there was no support. All of a sudden everybody was gone and no one was willing to help her. So again, you see that contradiction too. If they're ready to support you to move into this direction, but then if you change your mind, there's absolutely no support there. I think what you're seeing though here, Ben, with these trans flags, is with Christianity, Protestant Christianity, which is different than Catholicism, you would never see that type of stuff at a Catholic church because they have very strict rules. It's all associated with the Catholic, the Roman Catholic Church, right, and the Vatican. Whereas Christian churches here in America, they usually use more of a capitalism, free market type of approach in getting parishioners. So DC is a very liberal demographic, and so what this church is doing is probably operating independently. I can't say for sure, I don't know. Sometimes, you know, they have multiple locations, but they're rebranding in order to appeal to that demographic to bring more people into the church. And you often see that with Christian churches, is they digress from the standard rules you see in Catholicism or the standard moral code that you see in Catholic or other Christian. And maybe the Church of England is like that too, and I'm not sure. Do they have a strict, like a standardization that all churches meet, where Christianity there is no standardization, if that makes sense?
Well, you meant to. I mean, everything's going awry back home in the UK. I will say though, Greg, just last point on this before we move on. It could be a church draped in flags of, they don't exist, but straight pride and being straight and heterosexual relationships. I would still make the same argument.
Yeah, exactly.
My point is, why does a church where you go to worship God and find some peace and serenity, I don't care who you sleep with, what you do at the weekends, I don't care.
Yeah, it's virtue signaling gone wild. I think it peaked a few years ago. I think it's actually fading a bit now. I think this church that you took a photograph of is sort of, you know, trying to relive 2021 or 2022. It's really receded quite a bit, which I think is great. And you know who really loses on this stuff are actual gay people who just want to go on with their life and not go to a pride rally or a pride parade. And so it's really offensive to them that they can't go to church anymore without having this pride or this trans insanity jammed down their throat.
One's just posted on your site, Glenn Hunter. Hello, Glenn. He said, I'm gay, but I'm totally against the LGBTQA plus alphabet flag being flown on public buildings. It's too political. Even the local police cars are covered in rainbow flags. There's no need. You're telling me, Glenn, down in Brighton, God, all the zebra crossings, the cop cars, especially come August when it's Pride, the amount of money they waste wrapping cars in rainbow flags. Anyway, thank you very much. Interesting discussion. Thanks, Claire. Miss McLaren, who I guess is the vicar from the church in Sunderland, said, we believe that transgender men and women have as much right to privacy, dignity and safety as cisgender men and women. The limited toilet facilities in our Grade 2 listed building are difficult and costly to adapt. However, they all have cubicles, as do any public toilets. The only shared space is for hand washing. Our transgender and gender non-binary worshippers and friends at the minister are very vulnerable and fearful of abuse. I'm sorry that some people feel that cisgender women have anything to fear from them. I mean, what an insult. They're called women. They're not called cisgendered women. They're just women. There's no such thing as cisgendered. Right, we plough on. Still ahead on the Late Show Live. Birmingham City Council has ended up paying itself after being fined by itself. Yes, itself. Why? I'll tell you in just a sec on the Late Show Live. Don't go anywhere.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Another warm day in the southeast, so it will be cooler than yesterday. Dry for many of us, but there is a risk of showers and some thunderstorms, particularly in the southeast later on today. A damp start for parts of northern Scotland, some rain across parts of Northern Ireland too, but it's across the south we could see some thunderstorms build up from the near continent later on this afternoon. Dry weather in between these areas for much of England and Wales, and it will still feel warm out there. Temperatures in the mid-20s for many areas across central and southern areas, in the high teens, low 20s further north than that. Through this evening, those showers across the southeast where they do form should push away, and then we look to the north where low pressure is still dominating. Quite a brisk westerly breeze affecting coastal areas and the high ground of Scotland. Some outbreaks of rain, relatively light through this evening. Should be a dry end to the day across Northern Ireland, Northern England, parts of Wales, central areas too. You can see temperatures still in the mid-20s, so it will still feel quite warm out there to end this week of exceptional heat. And then overnight, clear skies for many areas. We've still got quite warm air with us, so it's still going to be a fairly warm night, though certainly cooler than it has been lately. So that may bring some relief if you've been struggling to sleep throughout this week. Temperatures by tomorrow morning, just 11 or 12 degrees for many of us. Some areas seeing single figures to start the day, which could be the first time in a little while. Now, this band of rain pushes into parts of Northern Ireland, much of Scotland throughout Saturday. As we look further east, it looks much drier through the day, so plenty of sunny and warm weather to come through Saturday across parts of England and Wales predominantly. We'll feel warm in that sunshine still, not quite as warm as it has been, but still highs of 28 in the southeast and in the 20s elsewhere, so perhaps a little bit more pleasant. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Right, let's look at the front pages hitting the shelves in Blighty tomorrow, starting with The Telegraph. Birmingham City Council has fined itself nearly £500,000 for breaking its own clean air rules. Since the city's clean air zone launched in 2021, council vehicles triggered more than 3,200 charges, costing taxpayers over 470 grand. Most of the non-compliant vehicles came from the waste department during the ongoing bin strike. The council says it's replacing older vehicles, but admits more than 140 still fail emissions standards. So how does this work, Claire? So they fine themselves the money, and then the money goes back into the council coffers? Surely they're losing money from administration costs and man hours to process the fines. I don't know, I'm confused.
It's almost as if we're talking about the MOD, isn't it? With the hands of external contractors, criminal syndicates and rogue personnel. It's all over. It's completely uniform. Birmingham City Council, of course, was one of the first councils to admit their liability in the sense of declaring themselves bankrupt. So what are they doing then? Well, they're trying to regain some of their costs by charging themselves and then just moving money around. It's all that money. It's follow the money, and that's what we have to do. It's ridiculous. The council vehicles have triggered more than 3,200 charges, costing taxpayers over £472,000. How on earth did that work?
Yeah, just absolutely nuts. Greg, any thoughts on this? It's quite UK-centric.
It's just amazing how stupid it is. So they're just fleecing taxpayers more. And which will probably drive more taxpayers out of Birmingham or out of the United Kingdom. So
literally
yeah,
and metaphorically, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's obscene.
Have I been to Birmingham? I've been to Birmingham. I've been to Cadbury's World.
It always rains in Birmingham, I think, though.
I love Brummies. I love Brummies. I love the Black Country lot. I love Brummies as well.
Great curries.
But yeah, I won't get myself in trouble. I was just going to say Birmingham is nicer places. Right. But let's move on. Another story. Scotland fans. One for you, Claire. Scotland fans are swapping trains for yellow school buses at the 2026 World Cup. All of this to avoid scandalous travel costs. So more than 30 iconic American buses have been hired to carry the Tartan Army to matches near Boston, I'll be there, cutting journeys to around £22 per fan. England supporters, meanwhile, are also booking private coaches across the US as transport prices soar. And I have to say, Claire, Scotland's first game, again, GB News will be there, against Haiti. Big one, Clash of the Tysons in Boston.
Well,
they bumped up the...
Ben, who from GB News is going to be there? Because I've not been invited.
Me and my cameraman and my producer. We'll be there. We'll be with the Tartan Army in all the bars in Boston days before the build-up. Hopefully they'll be getting sozzled on the lager and the Iron Brew whenever you guys drink, and the battered Mars bars, and yeah, big win against Haiti in Boston.
I'm in. Road trip.
You're in, Greg. You're going too. Angelina, are you going?
I just heard about it. I didn't get the memo.
I'm not going to that specific game, but yeah, of course I got World Cup plans. Actually, I'm going to the Scots friendly game. They're having a friendly pre-match against Brazil in New Jersey next week.
Is that Miami?
Oh,
in New
Jersey. No, New
brilliant.
Jersey. Yeah, so it's a friendly, so it's a little warm up to the World Cup. I'm so excited about it, though.
We do have the best fans.
Yeah, hopefully they look after me, Claire. Any tips? Because I'll be there for a few days with your lot, the Tartan Army.
Right.
I'm kind of used to Scots because my wife's family is Scottish. So
they are
any
indeed.
tips? What should I say? What shouldn't I say?
Well, get your ribs sorted. Don't talk about sturgeon. Don't talk about morel. I'm glad they're not hiring any Winnebagos. They're your US version of mini camper vans, of course. Just go and enjoy yourself, and I'll tell you, if they've had a few swallies, they'll be absolutely fine, and just go with the flow. And you'll support Scotland anyway, because we're going to, we'll lose against Haiti badly, but we'll absolutely smash Brazil, because that's what we do.
No, you got Big John McGinn for Scotland. I love McGinn. He's great. I think
you do. That's right.
Yeah, you're playing Brazil in Miami. It's going to be a corker.
We are.
Hopefully, we'll be down there as well, covering it all for GB News. Anyway, the story was Scotland fans are taking yellow school buses to their games.
I think that's a great idea. It's an absolutely wonderful idea, and I wish the England team would book some coaches too. And I think, the Scottish fans will go there. They will be clearly visible in their school, because they're all yellow, aren't they? The yellow school buses. And I think that's really lovely. Yeah. They're taking them down to Boston so they can watch the game against Haiti, and it'll be great. I hope a lot of them can go, because there's been lots of press in this country of unaffordability, high ticket costs, and also high hotel costs as well.
Yeah, well, I have to say, there was an investigation launched yesterday. We announced it on the Late Show Live. FIFA is being investigated for, how do we describe this? Articulate it without miffing FIFA off.
Price gouging?
Match tickets, the cost of transport in local cities as well. It's all being looked at, because actually none of it quite makes any sense. It's meant to be the most expensive World Cup in history. Right, let's move on. A viral video caught my eye today, and it's doing the rounds online. It has gone mega viral. It shows a police officer stopping a car during an operation for distracted drivers. Take a look at this.
Hello, ma'am. Hey, good morning. I'm Deputy Gasala with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Recently being pulled over in the city of Lake Worth today. We're doing an operation for distracted driver, and you drove past me holding the phone with your right hand, manipulating that phone. I mean, I saw you with the phone in your hand.
So you want to just call this a day?
I don't want to call it a day. You had a hand up manipulating the phone.
You just said my right hand.
Well, I thought I saw you with your right hand. You had a hand up. The right hand. I saw you manipulate.
So you didn't.
With the right hand, perhaps not, right? But I saw you
didn't see me with my right hand.
So are you
saying that you saw me with my right hand?
I know what I just said. I know what I just said. I'm asking you now. Did you or not have your phone on your hand?
I did not.
You did not have your phone in your hand?
I did not.
Hand to God, you did not have your phone in your hand.
Hand to God.
Greg Swenson, what is that cop banging on about?
Yeah, I think he got busted himself.
She got ticketed, that lady, by the way. She uploaded a separate video. She got ticketed.
Yeah, this is I think we've had a few incidents today on the show, on the Late Show, talking about rogue police people. Yeah, that's just a really odd video. I don't know why he didn't, he could have just backed away.
All you've got to say is, I'm really sorry. Apologies.
Yeah,
I must have been mistaken.
He could have nipped it in the bud and just, avoided the whole humiliation.
And then, Claire, he says, hand to God. I don't know if we showed it in that clip, but later on he says, hand to God, you weren't using a mobile phone. And she puts up her stump, a handless hand, and says, hand to God, and he goes, other hand. It was the most extraordinary, actually quite rotten piece of footage. Had you seen it before, Claire, that?
No, I've not seen that at all before. What state was that in? Do we know?
That's a good question. Let me find out. I just don't know why the cop didn't just say, look, sorry, yeah, my mistake, mea culpa, off you go. Yeah. She got ticketed, though. She had to appeal it in court.
But it looks as if he was filming it, actually. It looked as if he was why film something like that and then get it released?
I think it was his body cam. I think it was...
It was in Florida, apparently.
OK, but then even to release that, I mean, it just doesn't have... It doesn't show them in a good light at all, does it, really?
No, I mean, it just shows the, you know, I want to respect our police officers by default. Well, again, when you look at the Henry Novak situation, it's kind of hard to do that, but there are some good cops. But when you see footage like this, Greg, it's just like, you're a bad apple, my friend, and you're doing your colleagues and your friends no favours.
Most police are great, but there are some bad apples out there. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. One more quick video. Do you remember this clip of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. removing a pair of black racers, snakes, from his pal Dr. Oz's patio? Take a look.
So, what are they? Well, they're having sex. So what were they? They're black snakes.
Huh?
They're not moccasins.
Oh. Okay.
Are they biting?
Yeah.
So that was a few days ago, RFK Jr. showing how he gets rid of snakes in his mate's patio. Anyway, in response to the viral video that came of that, he has posted another video, this time showing how he handles something a bit more serious, because the black racers aren't venomous. They do bite, but they're not venomous. This is RFK Jr., sorry, showing how he handles rattlesnakes.
Now it's small.
Beautiful snake. There's a western diamondback, you can tell. Look at these rings. Better place for this guy.
Oh, Angelina, I love him, but what a nutter.
Yeah, I mean, I've dealt with my fair share of rattlesnakes. I grew up in California, so they're quite frequent. Yeah, quite frequently we'd go out in the driveway, go out in the garden, they're just laying out there. So we get a shovel. Pretty dangerous. If they bite you, you need to go to the hospital immediately. But you know, we just get the shovel and whack their heads off. But yeah, that was a bit more of a humane approach that he did. He put it in an Amazon bucket though. So
hang on a minute, you used to whack the.
We would kill them if they were in our yards. We didn't do it's not like I went out in the wild and went around killing them. Yeah. But yeah, if there's a rattlesnake in your yard, it's dangerous, especially if you have children. So you know, I have 8 siblings. I'm on the older half of that. I had a lot of younger siblings. So yeah, it was either me or one of my siblings or even my dad going out there to whack the rattlesnake. Because it's definitely a threat. It's a threat to have that in your yard. We'd also have bobcats randomly come down too. So
are they mountain cats, bobcats?
Yes, mountain cats. Mountain lions.
They look like mean little
things. They're very intense.
Well, I don't know if clobbering rattlesnakes is legal where you're from, but if it's not, I don't condone it. Greg, rattlesnakes experience?
No, not personally, but if I saw a rattlesnake and had a chance to kill it, I definitely would.
You would as well?
Of course I would, but
maybe not the throw me under the bus.
Maybe not the innocent black snakes, but I got a kick out of that video because I don't know if you could hear it on this particular clip, but the funny part was RFK Jr.'s wife, you know, saying, kind of yelling at him, you know, Bobby, don't do that, don't do that. It's pretty funny. It's pretty amusing. And by the way, it was at Dr. Oz's house. It wasn't even at RFK Jr.'s house. So he was doing Dr. Oz a solid by dealing with snakes.
But not the rattlesnake. Where did he?
No, not the rattlesnake. I'm not sure where that was.
Rattlesnake? Isn't he in DC?
Let me read you that. So you can kill rattlesnakes, Claire. I mean, I by default don't want to harm any animals, but it depends on the state. So California is generally legal to kill a rattlesnake if it poses an immediate threat to life or property. What state were you in?
California.
Are you in Cali? Arizona, you can kill it in self-defense. Utah, you can kill it without a permit. You need a permit. However, the law allows you to kill rattlesnakes if you feel your life's in danger. That seems to be the theme. If you feel your life's in danger, you can kill them. But wildlife charities and authorities generally recommend it because they're a protected species most of the time, Claire.
Well, I think if you were in contact with a rattlesnake, by default, your life would be in danger anyway. So therefore, I think it would be okay and just to kill it. But watching that video there, I think it brings a whole new meaning to snake, rattle and roll. And maybe that's his new thing now.
Yeah, very funny. Good one, Claire. He's an interesting guy, Bobby Kennedy Jr.
Very interesting.
He does about 20, 30 pull-ups at the airport. Right, one more very quick video. It's a hat-trick of videos tonight showing British students trying American food. I think this is the one where they're trying biscuits, which I think we call scones. But anyway, take a look.
Whoa, what is this? What do you think it is?
A scone.
They're not scones.
They look exactly like scones.
They are. It's an American
Biscuit.
Biscuit. Nailed it.
They're little biscuits. It's so weird.
What do you guys think of when you think of a biscuit?
Crunchy. English biscuits are quite like thin.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So what are you holding right now?
A biscuit. That is a scone. It's a biscuit. Whoa, it's so soft.
It's fluffy.
Just like bread.
You've halved it like a scone.
I don't know how this can be a biscuit. That's really good.
It's good.
Americans are lucky. Americans are lucky.
And Greg, they later bring out gravy, American gravy, which is like white and more sort of voluptuous, and then fried chicken as well. Are they just scones though? Are the biscuits you get here, are they just scones?
No, they're different. They're lighter, and it's more like just bread. It's kind of like a nice roll that you'd put in the oven. I think they're great, and I think they're better than scones, but I do think it's disgusting when they put the gravy on it. That I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
Don't condone it.
And Angelina, what's the white gravy made of?
I imagine that it's made of like turkey fat and you add in starch, cornstarch, right? That's how you make the gravy. But I can't be sure. I don't eat gravy.
And then
I've had Greg on that one.
Yeah,
I've had it once for breakfast, Clay. I've had waffles, biscuits, American gravy, and then fried chicken at about 8 in the morning.
So the white gravy, is that savoury then? So it's not sweet?
As far as I remember, it was slightly sweet. Yeah, slightly sweet.
Okay.
We've just got some breaking news, more pertinent matters to deal with. Just in, people are stuck on a roller coaster in Florida, apparently. More coming up on that in a second, but people are stuck on a roller coaster in Florida. Here are some pictures. Oh, goodness me. These are live pictures from Galveston Pleasure Piers. They are stuck. Is that sideways?
Upside down.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a rescue operation at Galveston Pleasure Pier. The roller coaster is called Iron Shark roller coaster. It's been stopped midway. You can see rescue operators there with a massive crane trying to get them off. That's probably the worst position, Greg, to be stuck. You are back to the floor.
That's going to be nerve-wracking. Yeah, those poor people. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of these crazy rides, especially when they're temporary. When they have these traveling, these traveling outdoor roller coasters that they have, moved to different festivals. It's really it's just an accident waiting to happen.
So Galveston Pleasure Pier is, I can tell you, it's near. It's near Beaumont, near Houston. Is it in Texas? Apparently it's Florida. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong map. Apologies, viewers, and this is apparently Florida. Galveston Pleasure Pier in Florida. Roller coaster riders being rescued.
Texas.
It's Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. More on that, including some concrete details after the break. Don't go anywhere on the Late Show Live. Back in just a sec.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Another warm day in the southeast, so it will be cooler than yesterday. Dry for many of us, but there is a risk of showers and some thunderstorms, particularly in the southeast later on today. A damp start for parts of northern Scotland, some rain across parts of Northern Ireland too, but it's across the south we could see some thunderstorms build up from the near continent later on this afternoon. Dry weather in between these areas for much of England and Wales, and it will still feel warm out there. Temperatures in the mid-20s for many areas across central and southern areas, in the high teens, low 20s further north than that. Through this evening, those showers across the southeast where they do form should push away, and then we look to the north where low pressure is still dominating. Quite a brisk westerly breeze affecting coastal areas and the high ground of Scotland. Some outbreaks of rain, relatively light through this evening. Should be a dry end to the day across Northern Ireland, Northern England, parts of Wales, central areas too. You'll see temperatures still in the mid-20s, so it will still feel quite warm out there to end this week of exceptional heat. And then overnight, clear skies for many areas. We've still got quite warm air with us, so it's still going to be a fairly warm night, though certainly cooler than it has been lately. So that may bring some relief if you've been struggling to sleep throughout this week. Temperatures by tomorrow morning, just 11 or 12 degrees for many of us. Some areas seeing single figures to start the day, which could be the first time in a little while. Now, this band of rain pushes into parts of Northern Ireland, much of Scotland throughout Saturday. As we look further east, it looks much drier through the day, so plenty of sunny and warm weather to come through Saturday across parts of England and Wales predominantly. We'll feel warm in that sunshine still, not quite as warm as it has been, but still highs of 28 in the southeast and in the 20s elsewhere, so perhaps a little bit more pleasant. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again
to start your day just right. GB News breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You have the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good morning. Hope you're well. Live from Washington, this is GB News with the stories shaping Britain and America. And breaking tonight, Cabinet ministers reportedly tried to hide their messages with Peter Mandelson from Parliament. Their names are going to be revealed next week. I can't wait. Get the popcorn out. Elsewhere, from bombs to breakthrough, US officials say a new Iran ceasefire is within touching distance. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, well, he took to the White House briefing room podium earlier today.
The teams have been going back and forth, and President Trump has made it very clear, he talked about it at the cabinet meeting, that he has several red lines.
And here's a good story, revenge or justice. The Department of Justice is investigating the woman who was awarded millions after accusing President Trump of sexual assault.
I have no idea who she is, where she came from. This is another scam. It's a political witch hunt. And somehow we're going to have to fight this stuff.
And elsewhere, Treasury officials are reportedly pushing plans for a $250 bill featuring Donald Trump's face. It's to celebrate the 250th birthday of America. Is it the right move?
Don't think that there's anything untoward about having the President of the United States, the person who was President of the United States, on the 250th anniversary bill.
And breaking right now, a rescue operation is underway in Texas after the Iron Shark roller coaster stopped mid-ride. Passengers, or ride revelers, are stuck upside down currently, and we've got some live pictures to bring you in just a second. I'm Ben Leo, and this is The Late Show Live. Good morning. My panel are here. The chair of Republicans Overseas UK, Greg Swenson, and the journalist and broadcaster Angelina McCarthy. And in London, political commentator Claire Muldoon. Hello, Claire.
Hi,
Let's
Ben.
go live to those pictures in Texas. It wasn't Florida. My mistake. Apologies. Where roller coaster riders are currently stranded upside down. Their backs facing the floor. It looks like, Greg, hundreds of feet up. This is in the southern town of Galveston in Texas. Just tell us about Galveston.
Yeah, Galveston is a beach kind of resort town close to Houston. It's, you know, for people that don't want to fly down to Mexico or to the Caribbean, it's a closer option to go to the beach or, you know, go on a little mini holiday with the kids. And it's got, you know, it's typical old-fashioned beach community where there's amusement parks in addition to the beaches.
A little bit ropey?
Yeah.
Not your Disney or Universal?
Probably, you wouldn't fly the private jet there.
Yeah.
No.
Well, look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least 4 people still stuck on that roller coaster. Firefighters are using a tower truck to get the riders down. They are pretty much at the apex of the loop, aren't they? The top of the loop. You have to argue, Angelina, they couldn't be stuck in a worse position.
Yeah, that looks like the worst position on the roller coaster, right? It looks like they're upside down and backwards. Like that is, I'd be absolutely terrified. Oh my gosh! And then they have to unbuckle and somehow hinge onto that little like carrier, I guess, and walk down that ladder. That seems so scary.
And who draw the?
It looks like they're attaching them to harnesses.
Well, yeah, authorities said each person is being placed in a safety harness to get them down safely, and it's one by one.
Yeah, I wonder who drew the shortest straw and goes last.
Right, sitting in that position.
A statement from Galveston Pleasure Pier reads, the ride experienced a malfunction at its initial ascent. However, as designed, it immediately stopped to keep everyone safe. Our focus immediately shifted to the safety of our guests. Therefore, we contacted the fire department to assist, ensuring all guests were safely removed from the ride. Well, they're not all removed yet, they're still stuck. A thorough inspection of the ride will take place before it's placed back in service. I don't think I'm getting on that.
Greg, you think so? That's enough reason never to go on a roller coaster again.
Claire Muldoon, would you get back on that roller coaster 20 minutes after it's been fixed?
No, and the first thing that struck me about it was the fact that roller coaster looks as if it's actually over water, and the actual name of the roller coaster, can you believe it, is Shark Coaster or something ridiculous like that. But what that brings me to mind is the terrible tragedy of Alton Towers. Remember that one? Where there was something in this country where a carriage was stuck on the roller coaster ride, and I think one girl lost her leg, or two legs perhaps. It was just awful, and that mistake was down to human error. So you take your life in your hands literally when you do this, and of course it's our half-term here in this country. So Chessington, Alton Towers, beware. Maybe watch out for the sharks.
I used to love going to Chessington as a child. They used to have a ride called the Bubble Works. I don't know if you remember that, Claire. It was magical for a kid. You used to sit inside. It was kind of like it was like a small little boat which you used to go through magical sort of water arches and lovely lights and stuff. But yeah, these are latest scenes from Texas, where in Galveston Pleasure Pier, not so pleasurable right now, where 1, 2, 3, 4, it seems, maybe some in the back seats as well, 4 people stuck, backs to the floor, eyes to the moon, hundreds of feet up off the ground. Their roller coaster has stuck.
Yeah, they took the bottom 4, the bottom row first, and then they'll ultimately get to the top row.
Is it 4 in view?
Looks like there's 4 left, and they've taken 4 down.
Yeah, looks like they've taken.
So the fire service, just to reiterate this, they're getting people down one by one with a harness. So good luck to them. Somebody on your say has said they're getting their money's worth, those thrill seekers. They got their blood pumping. That's from Paul. Yeah, right on, Paul. Jolly Roger said, mega shark is coming into view. It's the Gulf of America. That's the water.
That's right. Yeah. That is the Gulf of America. Yes. Yeah. It's right.
And yeah, that's about it. Okay, we'll bring you an update on that as soon as we get it. Hopefully, all those remaining passengers, is that what you call them, thrill seekers, get off the ride safely. But that's a rescue operation taking place in Galveston Pleasure Pier in Texas. The roller coaster has stopped at the worst possible position. Right, let's move on. A GB News alert. The Justice Department has opened a criminal investigation into E. Jean Carroll. She was the magazine columnist who, if you remember, Donald Trump sued Donald Trump, for sexual assault and defamation. She won her case and won millions. The investigation will look into whether Carroll committed perjury in that case in the 2 lawsuits she brought against him. As I said, she was awarded loads of money, millions of dollars in damages by a jury in Manhattan back in 2024. But Trump repeatedly appealed to the Supreme Court to overturn the ruling. Critics have now said that the president, they've accused him of using the Justice Department to go after his enemies, basically weaponizing the DOJ, claiming its political independence is being undermined. Just as a reminder, this is a clip from when President Trump was on trial during that case.
What you said there is, I'll say it with great respect. Number one, she's not my type. When you said that Ms. Carroll was not your type, you meant that she was not your type physically, right?
I saw her in a picture. I didn't know what she looked like. And I said it, and I say it with as much respect as I can, but she is not my type.
And again, when you say type, you just refer to looking at photos, so you mean physically she's not your type?
Physically, she's not my type, and now that I've gotten indirectly to hear things about her, she wouldn't be my type in any way, shape, or form.
So that was Donald Trump's reaction at the time, and this was his reaction after E. Jean Carroll won that trial. Take a look.
I have no idea who she is, where she came from. This is another scam. It's a political witch hunt. And somehow we're going to have to fight this stuff. We cannot let our country go into this abyss. This is disgraceful. You have somebody running for office. You have a woman that's financed and lied about it. She totally lied about it by Democrat operatives, like just about the biggest one there is. And she said that wasn't true. They found that she lied about it, and the judge wasn't even, I guess, letting it be put in as evidence.
Right, with me now is James Renobowitz, New York City attorney. James, E. Jean Carroll was awarded something like $80 million for this civil case. Why now is the DOJ going after her? What are they accusing her of doing?
Great question. And the crazy thing is she was awarded closer to $88.5 million after 2 cases in state court, eventually removed to federal court in 2023 and 2024. And unfortunately, I think the message that is being sent right now is if you sue Donald Trump and win, the Justice Department is going to come after you, which is not what anyone wants. I think everybody can agree, regardless of whether you are a pro-Trump person or an anti-Trump person, you always want the federal government to have weight behind it when they bring a federal case against you. And in the last few days with Abrego Garcia, with Letitia James, with James Comey, it seems like if you brought a case against Donald Trump, then you will be sued yourself. And that's not what we want. But unfortunately, that seems to be the reason for this case being brought against her.
Yes, I probably will agree with you on that it seems like Trump is out for some revenge. However, I always make the argument from a human perspective, which is, maybe you'll tell me I'm talking rubbish, they impeached him. They tried to jail him for life. They went after his businesses. They debanked his family. They tried to kill him. They made up lies about him, the Russia collusion hoax. Just from a human perspective, are you surprised, James, that the president wants some revenge? He knows he's not getting re-elected again. He's 80 in a couple of weeks' time. He's probably thinking, I'm going to make these SOBs pay for what they did to me.
You're absolutely right. And that's exactly what he's doing, of course, making those SOBs pay. And I'm not surprised because it seems like this is the exact tactic he takes every single time he has something go wrong in his presidency. He uses the Justice Department to lever whatever it possibly can be against those people who are attacking him. Whether that's the right thing for him to do is the big question, and I unfortunately think it's undermining his presidency, which I don't think any American wants the president of the United States having their presidency undermined.
I will say, though, James, surely the DOJ has some evidence of perjury. Otherwise, they wouldn't have brought a case, or, I mean, are they just cooking stuff up?
Well, forgetting what you did 2 years earlier, which is, of course, what the DOJ is arguing, is not perjury in any way. It's a Tuesday. And I could tell you it's one of these things where when you have a case that is pursuing a contingency fee, like these attorneys were on behalf of Jean Carroll, it's not a case where you are working on billable hours. It's also not a case that you need to know where your attorneys are getting their money from, simply because you're not paying for it out of your own pocket. You assume when you sign that retainer, especially in New York, where this case was litigated, also where I practice, the state of New York requires in a retainer that you as an attorney disclose that you will be fronting those legal fees. So when that happens, your clients really don't know where that money is coming from. So the question in this case right now is whether or not at a deposition more than 3 years before these cases went to trial was actually real, whether or not it was a perjury issue. Now, in New York, you have 4 elements for perjury. It is a statement under oath that was false, a defendant knew was false when made, and was material to the proceeding. A circuit court, meaning the appeals court in the federal system, has now ruled 2 times that this absolutely was not material to the trial and should be instead considered as some type of impeachment evidence, meaning when I say impeachment, I'm not talking about an impeachment against Trump. I'm meaning impeaching the credibility of Jean Carroll during the trial, undermining her credibility. This case, of course, ruled 2 times that this was not the situation, and, of course, the circuit court believed that it was not perjury.
So she's being accused of paying lawyers with money from Reid Hoffman, right? That is the charge.
So that's not the charge. That's what they're saying. What they're saying is that she was aware that Mr. Hoffman bankrolled her litigation. And the thing is, she certainly did know, which of course is why the DOJ is coming after her so aggressively. But the thing to know is in 2022, before these 2 cases went to trial, the Jean Carroll legal team disclosed that she was aware, she made a mistake, and it became an issue that went to the judge, and then the the appeals court. The appeals court ultimately decided that this was not an issue. And of course, the jury also had the ability to make a ruling based on that evidence. And 2 times in a row, the jury knew about it and decided to rule in E.G. and Carroll's favor.
Okay, interesting. Well, we'll see how this pans out. What are the next legal steps? What can we look out for next, James, the big updates?
This is what I'm excited about. So the next legal steps are whether or not the Justice Department is going to be allowed to proceed with this case. And that is going to be the big question. Of course, E.G. and Carroll's attorneys are going to make a motion to try to dismiss this case, saying this is not any type of claim that has base or legs. And whether or not it's allowed to proceed in criminal court is going to be the big question, and one that I'm looking at, because what it will mean for the Justice Department and what it'll mean for E.G. and Carroll will be 2 very different things, especially when compared to that civil case that resulted in $88.5 million. Whether or not she's able to keep it, I think will be the big question.
Yeah, interesting. I think she's living in the woods now, isn't she? I saw a video of her living in the woods and doing some mad stuff in the woods. James, thanks very much. Appreciate the clarity and your contributions. Greg, just explain for our British viewers, Reid Hoffman is who? Why? He's a Democrat, big billionaire
big
guy.
Democrat funder. You know, he's a big Democrat donor and obviously has a case of Trump derangement syndrome and thought it would be a good idea to fund this ridiculous case. The president was right. It is a scam. It was a scam. And it was complete weaponization of the justice system. So now the left and the media, it's funny, they're calling this Justice Department out for weaponization when, you know, that's the pot calling the kettle black, if I've ever heard it. I mean, it was really outrageous what he went through, you know, not just with the Russia collusion hoax back in 15 and 16, but that absolute weaponization of the justice system. All of those lawsuits were completely absurd, and all of the federal ones were thrown out. So, you know, this was a civil case, so it was hard to beat it with a hostile jury and a hostile judge.
Yeah, let's not forget, it was in New York City with a New York jury.
An absolute scam.
Yeah.
I hope he never has to pay that fine.
And so the DOJ is now going after E.G. and Carroll because they're saying she took money from Reid Hoffman, this billionaire Democrat guy who's got TDS, and didn't declare it.
Well, not that she didn't declare it, that she knew about it and then lied in her deposition.
So that's their argument. So
yeah, they asked the question, she said no, and it turns out she did know that Reid Hoffman was funding, was bankrolling.
Interesting.
But I mean, he's got a point. If it's not material to the case, then
can I ask you though, as a Trump supporter, and you know, I'm not a Trump sycophant, but you know, I like some of the things Trump does, particularly with migration. But I will say, when I see it, he is clearly using the DOJ. As Biden did after him, but I don't blame him. That's the thing.
Because he's just punching back.
Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that. He is weaponizing it, and he should, because you know that's all he has. And by the way, when he was the victim during those 4 years of the Biden years, and the Biden administration was all over him, using the tools of government to go after a political opponent.
Yeah,
this is an easy one.
So what I would say, Angelina, is well, they started it. The Democrats.
It doesn't matter who starts it. I think, you know, it needs to be who finishes it. Right now, Donald Trump is our leader. And so what is the standard he wants to set for the future of America? Does he want to end that corruption, or does he want to go tit for tat? Right now, it seems like he's going tit for tat. Look, I think going after E.G. Carroll is a different situation compared to his other political targets. It is a different, it's more personal. I think if Trump wasn't constantly weaponizing the DOJ and consistently going after people who merely just speak out against him, or the Fed Chair Reserve guy, you know, like if he wasn't recklessly going after, you know, Adam Schiff and all these other people, then I think that it would carry a bit more weight, you know, using the DOJ to go against E.G. Carroll. But because he's diluted the weapon in itself a bit much, it kind of gives it less meaning.
Dilution is a great way to describe it, because when he's going after so many, but there are so many people that he can go after, because again, they totally weaponized the justice system. But I'm with you. I think, you know, I'm not suggesting turn the other cheek. That's not the nature of this president. If he gets punched, he punches back. But it's not going to be good for the future, because a Democrat will win someday.
I will say,
and they'll come right back and do the same thing.
They will. The pendulum will swing. I will say, Greg, as far as I remember, in 2016, I followed Trump very closely since 2014-15 when he started to run. his campaign trail in 2015 was lock her up, lock her up. Do you remember Hillary Clinton? Crowds of thousands saying lock her up, and he said, I'm going to lock her up when I'm president. And he was very gracious when he won the presidency. He knew, he respected the office and the traditions of the land and didn't want to go down that route. Everybody accepted, okay, it was just campaign talk and just being Trump, you know, being sort of like bombastic. And then he didn't go after Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. And look how it turned out.
And then look how it turned out. They stamped him in the back.
Yeah.
I would argue, and again, I'm not a spokesperson, but I would argue he tried to respect the office of the land and the traditions and the standards set by presidents before him, and they screwed him over.
I guess the good news is, the silver lining is, it backfired. All those lawsuits, all those indictments backfired against the very people who were doing it. It's a shame that Adam Schiff is going to escape prosecution here, because he was behind the Russia collusion hoax and perjured himself. I mean, he was lying to the American people every day. Oh, I have evidence, you know, I mean, all of that.
Complete lie.
And so, but anyway, it backfired. And it actually helped him in the 24th
Isn't it funny how life works out? If you didn't have all that, if you didn't have the 2020 election, you wouldn't have Trump now. Maybe he wouldn't be so determined and so focused.
In a way, though, the indictments also helped Trump, right? That mugshot went mega viral.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Absolutely.
It was super important. I remember that it was a monumental moment for Trump.
I was in Vegas at the time.
He went up 30 points. I mean, he was basically tied with Ron DeSantis in the polls.
He went up 30.
And then the Alvin Bragg indictment came out. The mugshot. He went up 30 points. Yeah. And he also went up 30 points when they raided Mar-a-Lago, because American voters don't like that. They don't like to see that weaponization. The FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, went through Melania's, you know, underwear drawers. I mean, it's really ludicrous. And again, he went up 30 points after that.
There's the mugshot. I was in Vegas at the time, and somebody got me a T-shirt with the mugshot on.
Oh yeah,
very funny. Claire Muldoon, the one person I do want Trump to go after, actually no, he's been pardoned. Anthony Fauci. He's been pardoned, right, Greg?
I think Biden pardoned him,
so he's getting away with
Hunter and everybody else. So, yeah.
Claire, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this as a Brit across the pond, and particularly as a woman as well. E. Jean Carroll, who won the case against Trump for sexual assault. What's your take? Oh. We've lost her mic, unfortunately. Sorry, Claire. We've not censored you. We've just lost your mic. Okay. Well, let's move on for the time being. If we can get Claire's mic back, we'll go to her, because I want to get her thoughts on that case particularly. Let me know your thoughts. gbnews.com/your say. Hammaz said, I remember when Trump debated Hillary and he brought Bill Clinton's alleged sexual misconduct victims sitting in the front row. That was an awkward debate. That was a great move. Right, still ahead on the Late Show Live. An Austrian court has convicted a man of planning to attack a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna nearly 2 years ago. I remember this, and it had chilling echoes, actually, of Southport. This is the Late Show Live. Back in a sec. Right, still ahead now on the Late Show Live. The Trump administration is reportedly planning to release a new $250 bill featuring the face of the president. That's to mark the 250th anniversary of US independence. Trump would be the first living person to appear on an American currency in more than 150 years. It's been prevented by federal law since 1866. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, said today that the idea makes perfect sense.
I don't think that there's anything untoward about having the President of the United States, the person who was President of the United States, on the 250th anniversary bill.
Well, is it a problem for the American president to appear on American money? I don't think it's much of a problem for the American president himself. It's not, I'm sure Trump would love it, Greg, but do you want to see it?
Yeah, it's as you said in the bulletin, you know, it's been 150 years, so we in America just aren't used to it. It's just not a thing. I'm not sure the reasons why they decided that wasn't a good idea. Maybe they just don't want to give the executive that much power and you know, to kind of enforce the balance of power, but I don't think it's a big deal, and I think the Treasury Secretary today was quite accurate when he said it's really up to the Congress. So if they approve it, I'm not sure they will. I'm not sure he has the votes to get that.
Angelina, are you buzzing to see a picture of Trump on a bill?
Look, the reason we don't put living presidents or politicians on our bill is it's because we don't want the people to idolize them, to confuse them with monarchs, right? We came away from the Brits. Obviously, you guys know that, where you guys do put your kings and your queens on your bills. That was something that distinguished America from other countries. We are a democracy. We don't, we don't immortalize our leaders until after they're dead, where we build them statues. I think that Trump on the $250 bill, like, no one's really going to be using it, right? People are going to be paying $250 to keep this bill.
Yeah,
most people are using digital payments. If you have cash, you have like $20, $100, but they're in 20s. People aren't really necessarily going to be using this on a day-to-day basis, so I don't really see it affecting people in the way that the reason it was set up, right? Because again, you're just not going to be using a $250 bill. I mean, I haven't used a dollar bill in forever, right? When was the last time you used a dollar bill? I use digital payment every day, all the time. I don't even know where my physical card is. I don't even know where my card is. What is privacy? Is that a problem with digital payments?
Oh yeah.
Like
what?
On my,
What do you mean?
You don't pay. Like, do you use your phone to pay for stuff?
Yeah, I do. I use Apple Pay and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the privacy component. Like what?
So what happens?
So what would I do? Just go around paying cash for everything? Actually, you can't pay cash a lot of places these days.
Only if you care about privacy. I mean, I don't know if you wanna pay your friend some money for something.
Oh, you mean like under the table? I mean, you can Zelle.
Well, it doesn't need to be nefarious, but it's just away from the prying eyes of government and big tech and all that kind of stuff. I mean, Edward Snowden said people who say they don't care about privacy because they've got nothing to hide, it's the same as saying you don't care about free speech because you've got nothing to say.
Yeah.
It's basically your right. You have a right to private transactions, Claire.
I love cash, and I hate the fact we're moving into a cashless society. I think it minimises the actual value of the cash itself. If you digitally pay something, a goods for services, say £10, then there is a cost in that, because Visa, which is one of the biggest American banks, if you're using a Visa as a debit card, take money for the transaction, and then that £10 is almost diminished immediately. Then that gets paid to someone else, then someone else. Way down the line, that £10 that you started payment with is worth a lot less. Whereas if you've actually got the physical cash, it retains its value, its full value all the time. And I think that $250 note's wonderful. And I think it also marks President Trump, and it marks the 250th year of anniversary of independence for America. It's a great, great thing. You know, in this times of darkness, of whatever, bring it on, get it minted and get it out. I want one.
You want one? Well, I'll save up some pennies, Claire, and if they do it, I'll try and get you on.
I'm not sure
you do that.
No more pennies.
I don't.
Oh, you don't make pennies here in the US?
No, that was Trump, actually. He stopped making the penny, yeah.
Greg, do you care about cash and privacy?
Well, love cash.
Yeah.
I use it all the time. And plus, you can't tip with credit cards. And if you're a big tipper, which I am, you have to carry cash all the time.
Are you going to carry around a bunch of $250 bills, Greg?
Well, I'm not sure I'm going to be greasing my waiter with a $250. But you know, you always have to have a stack of Benjamins in your wallet. Benjamins are $100 bills, by the way. Benjamin Franklin.
Interesting. The only thing I don't like about cash is it's grubby, it's filthy. If you test, I mean, I think apparently every banknote in the world has a trace of cocaine on, for starters.
I mean, I used to be a big cash fan, but a lot of places in DC don't take cash, and I noticed that when I was a cash fan, and I refused to get a credit card. I was very on it, but I mean, now I've just kind of caved into the system. But yeah, a lot of places don't even take cash, and so you can't buy products without a card or some form of digital payment.
Digital payment, what, like Bitcoin, crypto?
No, digital payment, I just mean on your phone.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some places do take Cash App, though, in DC. Some coffee places I've seen, so that's a bit odd, yeah.
Oh, okay. Right, still ahead on The Late Show Live, a bombshell new biography has revealed what the final straw was for Princess Catherine in the dramatic fallout with Prince Harry. What was it that the Ginger Whinger had to say to her sister-in-law? That's coming in a second on The Late Show Live. But first, an Austrian court has convicted a man of planning to attack a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna nearly 2 years ago. Sky News Australia presenter Danica DiGiorgio joins me live on that next. Looking forward to speaking to her. Don't go anywhere.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Another warm day in the southeast, so it will be cooler than yesterday. Dry for many of us, but there is a risk of showers and some thunderstorms, particularly in the southeast later on today. A damp start for parts of northern Scotland, some rain across parts of Northern Ireland too, but it's across the south we could see some thunderstorms build up from the near continent later on this afternoon. Dry weather in between these areas for much of England and Wales, and it will still feel warm out there. Temperatures in the mid-20s for many areas across central and southern areas, in the high teens, low 20s further north than that. Through this evening, those showers across the southeast where they do form should push away, and then we look to the north where low pressure is still dominating. Quite a brisk westerly breeze affecting coastal areas and the high ground of Scotland. Some outbreaks of rain, relatively light through this evening. Should be a dry end to the day across Northern Ireland, Northern England, parts of Wales, central areas too. You'll see temperatures still in the mid-20s, so it will still feel quite warm out there to end this week of exceptional heat. And then overnight, clear skies for many areas. We've still got quite warm air with us, so it's still going to be a fairly warm night, though certainly cooler than it has been lately. So that may bring some relief if you've been struggling to sleep throughout this week. Temperatures by tomorrow morning, just 11 or 12 degrees for many of us. Some areas seeing single figures to start the day, which could be the first time in a little while. Now, this band of rain pushes into parts of Northern Ireland, much of Scotland throughout Saturday. As we look further east, it looks much drier through the day, so plenty of sunny and warm weather to come through Saturday across parts of England and Wales predominantly. We'll feel warm in that sunshine still, not quite as warm as it has been, but still highs of 28 in the southeast and in the 20s elsewhere, so perhaps a little bit more pleasant. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Right, an Austrian man has been jailed for 15 years for plotting an Islamist terror attack on a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna, chilling echoes of Southport. The 21-year-old, identified only as Beran A due to Austria's privacy laws, planned to target the singer's fans, known as Swifties of course, on her Eras tour in 2024. The courts heard he'd sworn allegiance to the Islamic State terror group and intended to kill as many people as possible outside the venue. Swift's 3 shows in Vienna were then cancelled as a result. As a precaution after the plot was foiled. Today's sentencing comes just days after the 9th anniversary of the Manchester Arena terror attack. 22 people, of course, killed there by an Islamic extremist at the Ariana Grande concert. With me now is Danica Di Giorgio, Sky News Australia presenter, friend of the show. Danica, great to see you. Thank you for your company. This, again, I say it has chilling echoes of what we saw in Southport because of the Taylor Swift theme, but you also had the Bondi investigation going on as well. It just seems that we just have Islamist terror attacks running riot all across the world, and every day we get desensitized to it a little bit.
Well, and that's a shame that we do become desensitised, but you're absolutely right, and this is yet another chilling reminder of the threat of radical Islam and what it poses to a Western liberal democracy. And the sooner that authorities actually start waking up to this threat, the better we will be. You mentioned this Beran A. He's an Austrian man who did plot to kill people at this Vienna Taylor Swift concert back in August 2024. Luckily, that this terror plot was indeed thwarted, because it could have absolutely had devastating consequences. There were tens of thousands of people that were meant to attend this concert in Vienna's largest stadium. And of course, 3 concerts had to be cancelled because of it. Now, what I found most startling, Ben, that was in sentencing when he was jailed for 15 years, he said, "All I want to say is, I'm sorry." Well, gee, it's a little bit too late for that one, isn't it? Because as you said, he had plotted to kill using knives and homemade explosives. He had pledged his allegiance to ISIS. He had been networking with members of the terror group in the lead up to this attack, where they discussed how they could actually use homemade improvised bombs. And this is something that we have seen time and time again. Of course, the Manchester Arena bombing at the Ariana Grande concert. And gee, had this actually happened, it would have been devastating, because you remember as well, the Eras tour was the highest grossing tour on record. But we are reminded that terror is in our backyard, and we've got to actually start standing up and confronting this and not be afraid to, because, gee, it is dangerous.
Yeah, and isn't it quite telling as well? They always go after the most vulnerable, little girls and kids at a Taylor Swift concert, small girls at a Taylor Swift dance class. And indeed, unfortunately, Danica, your side of Down Under, in December, the Bondi Beach shooting, which I think, just update me on that, there was some sort of reviews today suggesting that the police weren't armed properly. They only had sort of pistols and Glocks against the father and son duo who had rifles.
Yeah, so there's a royal commission into the Bondi terror attack and anti-Semitism. So the environment leading up to the fact 15 people being killed in December is currently underway. And I tell you what, the evidence has been startling so far. You're right, police were outgunned by the two alleged gunmen. Police were carrying 9mm Glock pistols. The two men were armed with long-range rifles, so police didn't stand a chance. The evidence this week heard that in less than 30 seconds, 11 people were shot. 10 of those were killed. Can you believe it? In 30 seconds. Wow. That is what officers were up against. But I think the most concerning evidence that to come out of this inquiry so far was that authorities, so by our top spy organisation, ASIO, they warned in October 2025 about the risk of a possible terror attack on Jewish Australians at religious events in particular and crowded places. And they did this a day after the Manchester synagogue attack in the UK. So the warnings were there, and still this happened on 15 innocent people. So now there is going to be an inquiry into the communication sharing between the spy agencies and police as well. But certainly, I mean, the environment was there, as it is in the US, as it is in the UK. I mean, we've had anti-Semitism running rife. We've had synagogues firebombed. Jewish Australians fear for their lives every single day in this country. And Labor, our government, has sat on its hands and ignored all of the warnings. They have put votes ahead of values. So it was a real prime fertile ground, I'll put it like that, Ben, for any sort of attack. But gee, the fact that police were outgunned is devastating.
Yeah, you said it aptly there. Votes before values. That's what happens. I mean, as I said, in the UK, maybe your Labour government is the same. We haven't even prescribed the IRGC yet, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Everybody else has done it. America's done it. I think you guys have even done it, actually. Talking about, have you done it in Australia, Danica?
We have, and just on that point as well, I mean, Iran is responsible for 2 terror attacks here on home soil as well, right? And then we've got our Labor government that isn't even out there supporting Donald Trump, isn't showing its allegiance to Donald Trump in its war against Iran with its finger on the nuclear pulse, and Iran has targeted us on home soil. So again, it's all about this treading neutral ground, just tiptoeing around the issues, because it doesn't want to cause any problems, this Labor government, and we are not even showing our allegiance to the United States.
Yeah, interesting. Well said. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Really appreciate it. And I can't believe you guys even have prescribed the IRGC and we haven't yet. I mean, it just says it all. Just says it all. Appreciate you being with us. Danica Di Giorgio, Sky News Australia presenter. Thank you very much. Greg, the Bondi Beach attack, which Danica was just talking about, the police commission found today that they weren't armed properly. They only had Glocks, pistols. Is that a case that they should be armed properly like US police are, more sort of militarised?
Definitely, and especially when there is that risk of a terrorist attack. And as Danica pointed out, you know, they knew about it. They knew the risk was elevated. You had met the Manchester synagogue the day before. So they should have been armed. They should have had some sort of, riot gear, or rifles, or some, more defensive type instruments. You don't bring a knife to a gunfight, and you don't bring a Glock to a rifle fight. So, yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah, and Angelina, when you hear stuff like that, when you hear about the Bondi attack, which was terrible, and that stat she gave just there, Danica, about I think 10 people were killed in 30 seconds because they had rifles. Does that give you some confidence that you've got your police here are well equipped with weapons and guns compared to, say, Australia and the UK?
I mean, a bit, but it's still really, really hard because, like even this past Saturday, some random crazy guy went and started shooting around the White House, and I think he injured, or maybe he killed one civilian. And it is scary. We live in a scary time because you have these one-off extremists who just run in and start shooting up at places, especially in DC. Like we had that Afghani who came and he
National Guard.
Yeah, he shot the National Guard. And I mean, you're a journalist here in DC. I'm a journalist here in DC. We're around those areas so frequently. I had the thought the other day. I was like, do I need to start wearing a bulletproof jacket to go just walk around this area, because you don't know what kind of nutter is coming downtown to try and make chaos.
Well, you had the White House Correspondents' Dinner as well.
Yeah, you had the White House Correspondents, and they were great to react at that. But again, when you had that Afghanistan shooting, and the Afghani come and shoot the National Guard, and you had the shooting over at the White House just the other day, that wasn't a situation where you were able to have that rapid response, right? So you did have people injured.
So are you actually considering wearing a bulletproof vest?
I thought about it. Yes, I think that's probably a bit dramatic. But
would you?
I would say that the fear came down.
But I do. But also consider that none of the Australians were armed, and if you could carry a gun in Australia, I can imagine that they wouldn't have fired off 11 shots.
Well, only the bad guys were armed.
That's right. It sounds like Chicago.
Yeah.
So I think that is.
I mean, the takedown of that guy though was
brilliant.
Incredibly
sort of
impressive.
Such a brave moment. That guy
from that man.
What a stud! What an absolute stud he is.
Well, arguably, it shouldn't have got to that point because the Australian security services knew about their sort of Islamist tendencies decades before, at least 15 years before. Claire Muldoon, what do you make of this guy in Vienna, another Islamic State lone wolf, chilling echoes of Southport as well? As I said to Danica, just going after children basically because they're the most vulnerable Taylor Swift fans, little girls.
Yeah, well, it's the access to a large area that they know is going to be very much populated, and arena tours are known for that. I mean, look at the Ariana Grande one in Manchester many years ago. But back to Australia as well. I was actually in Australia in 2024 when the Westfield Bondi stabbings happened, and if it wasn't for, and that was with a knife, I think 12 fatalities. Huge amount of fatalities there, 9 fatalities and 12 injured. And one lone police officer managed to shoot the culprit down basically and kill him. But that was, guns going after knife crime as opposed to rifles going after Glocks or Glocks going after rifles or whatever. I'm not a fan of police having guns on them, on the beat. I would far rather they called in the response units to deal with that, so special response units with guns to deal with things like that. And we are seeing increasing attacks on our country, on global country, from Islamist terrorists, based a lot from Iran, from Hezbollah and Hamas, and I think we need to really put a stop to that. I think we need to have a lot of joined up thinking. I think a lot of countries need to sit together. In terms of NATO, it might be a branch of NATO now in how to deal with this collectively. But I keep saying this to you, Ben, and I know you agree with me. Why haven't we prescribed the IRGC yet as a terrorist organisation? I think that would go a long way in public support and public security in this country, knowing that these guys have been prescribed terrorists and we can deal with them as such. Instead of these mealy-mouth, what will happen if, what can we do if. What we can do and what we must do is take action against them. And if we look what's happening in Iran at the moment, we have only HMS Dragon, only 8 days ago, actually landed close to the Straits of Hormuz near Oman. Why did it take that long? Well, we don't defend our country. We don't invest enough in defence. We've got now 1.5 million pounds worth of money gone askew through defence fraud. We can't even defend ourselves, Ben, against, and help our allies. And as our last Labour Prime Minister said in his very famous essay now of 5,700 words, when he referred to Donald Trump, some leaders just head for the wall and go through it, regardless of the consequences. Well, I would actually urge our lot to actually take some gumption, take some notion, and take some instruction and follow a lead here, a leader who's not frightened to do anything, a leader who's not frightened to take risk, a managed risk, and a leader that's for his people, like Trump. I just don't get where, and that's the true qualities of a leader, in my view. None of this is what's going on. The Labour lot in Australia, the Labour lot here, they're doing nothing. They're not leading. Well, I'm sorry, but maybe they are. They're leading us down the garden path with no solutions and absolutely no defence.
They're too scared. They're scared of upsetting people. That's why they haven't got any courage or conviction, and actually no ideology as well.
And that is why Henry Novak is dead.
Yeah. Yeah, poor guy. Rest in peace, Henry Novak. And you would have thought they would have learned from President Trump by now. He's been around since, well, he's been more than a decade. You know, yes, he rubs people up the wrong way. Yes, he can be rude. Yes, he can be a bully. Yes, he can be a little bit nasty at times. Fine, but just judge him on the fact he's won 2 terms, not back-to-back terms, by the way, and he gets things done for the most part. Questions over Iran, yes, but domestically, you have to argue he's getting things done. Right. Anyway, before we delve into some more of the newspaper front pages, let's quickly return to that breaking news from the top of the hour. Galveston authorities in Texas are on the scene working to rescue people who are stuck on a roller coaster. Firefighters are using a tower truck to get the riders down. Authorities said each person's being placed in a safety harness to get them down safely. And it looks like, Greg, what's the time in Texas? Has the night set in?
It's an hour or 2 hours behind.
That was quick, wasn't it?
No, actually 1 hour
behind.
It was
daytime,
Central
not
time.
so long ago.
So, it's 8:45 there. The sun's going down, obviously, and it looks like they're maybe down, I can't tell, but maybe down to the last 2, or maybe even the last.
So this operation's been going on for, I think, a couple of hours at least, and these poor thrill seekers are, they got stuck at the top of the loop, which is hundreds of feet off the ground at Galveston Pier in Texas. It's the Gulf of America, it's the sea you can see. Well, you can't really see it, but it's the sea in the background. And there were, when we came to you an hour ago, maybe 6 people to be rescued, one by one being put into a harness, Angelina, and taken down that. God, that crane.
I
must
can't
be
imagine
terrifying.
being stuck there the whole time and being the last one rescued as the sun is going down. I wonder what the sunset looks like from that view on your back sideways, right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrifying.
Well, good luck to them. Good luck to the authorities and the thrill seekers. I'd be having something a bit stronger than a beer. Well, what would your tip will be, Greg, if you were rescued from that tonight?
I think I'd go right to the bourbon.
The bourbon?
And they like that in Texas.
No rocks, just clean.
No, you don't have ice and bourbon.
No. Silly little British oil.
Maybe one little ice cube to chill it a little bit. But.
Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the papers tomorrow before we say goodnight to you. A new royal biography claims Catherine Middleton reached her final straw with Prince Harry after he reportedly made comments about King Charles' cancer diagnosis. Wow, this is bombshell news. Author Christopher Anderson says Kate had been trying to help repair the fractured relationship between Harry and Prince William, but the remarks allegedly crossed the line and ended her efforts for a reconciliation. So Harry, again, I'm not too sure how much weight we give these claims in royal biographies, but apparently Kate reached her final straw with Prince Harry after he made comments about King Charles' cancer diagnosis. Claire Muldoon, any thoughts on this? I think Harry's going to be returning to our great nation one day and looking for forgiveness.
I think they'll be looking for a bit of love and forgiveness and, money and, a place to live, etc., 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 and some security, of course, because that's, of course, what he's lacking. These comments have come reportedly on the diagnosis of his father, and essentially Prince Harry had said, well, of course I'd like a reconciliation with my family because I don't know how long my father has left. And those remarks were made months after Princess Catherine was in remission of her own cancer diagnosis. So it's reported that hit her hard. She was always the one that kept the Fab Four, or the Fab Three at the time, together, and they were put out to the country as the Fab Four, remember? But things started to fall apart when Meghan essentially was claimed that she had bullied members of the royal household. And, essentially Meghan couldn't take the fact that Meghan wasn't the be-all and end-all. It wasn't about Meghan, it was about the firm, the royal family. The firm is bigger than one person in it. It takes a community, a village almost to build that. Of course, the firm has, come up against a lot of controversy recently with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor for one. And I don't know how on earth we can actually move on from that. I don't think there is a place in the royal family in terms of working royals for Harry and Meghan. And I hope they just do stay in Montecito for the sake of their children as well. And I just wish they would retreat, a bit like Wallace Simpson did, and just move out of the way and just, go away out into the existence and just live. Live their existence, live the way they want. They wanted that, they got that. Let them be.
Oh, you're not a fan then, Claire. Maybe he will return though, but without Meghan one day. Who knows? I wish their marriage well. I hope they stay together. It's always beneficial for the kids, I guess, when you stay together. But yes. I just got a feeling one day he'll come home. Should we look at the front page of the Times very quickly, just on the big C theme? Health chiefs are rejecting mass screening for prostate cancer. So officials have rejected calls for mass screening on the NHS in a decision campaigners are saying will condemn thousands of men to death. The UK National Screening Committee, the NSC, ruled that only a few thousand men with a cancer-causing genetic mutation should be given regular checks. It's quite astonishing, actually, Claire, because I was of the understanding that prostate cancer is one of the most prevalent cancers amongst men, and David Cameron, who of course was diagnosed himself in 2024, he's urged James Murray, the new health secretary, to overrule the committee.
Yeah, well, listen to this. I've got some statistics here in my hand, actually, from the Cancer Research Society, Cancer Research UK, and it actually says prostate screening in men, no lives will be saved, and around 20 men will be diagnosed with cancers that would not have caused them any harm through screening. Ben. So the figures here are 6 to 8 men, right, will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. 7 will die of prostate cancer. 61 will be treated and survive their cancer. That's without screening. With PSA screening, 88 will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. 7 will die of prostate cancer. 81 will be treated and survive their cancer. But of those 20, of those 81, 20 of them will be overdiagnosed, and these are cancers that wouldn't have caused any harm. So therefore, Cancer Research UK are saying no lives will be saved due to screening. In some cases, overdiagnosis is a weird thing and actually counterintuitive. And that's the reasoning behind it.
Cancer Research UK are saying that? So
yes.
So they're not fussed about mass screening?
No. No.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, my father-in-law successfully battled prostate cancer. I had loads of bloods done the other day. My PSA came back, thank God, just as low as can be, really, as you'd expect for a 36-year-old, I guess. Greg, prostate cancer in the US amongst men, is it quite prevalent?
Yeah, but it's also quite curable, especially if it's caught early. So it's a manageable problem.
Yeah. I was about to say, you do have screening here on the NHS, but you obviously don't have an NHS.
No, but
is there any public services where men... So how does it work here, Greg? If you've not got insurance, you're just stuffed, is that right?
40% of Americans are on some sort of public
Medicaid.
government health care, mostly Medicare, but also Medicaid, and then, of course, the VA, the Veterans Administration. So, it's kind of a myth to suggest, we don't have public health care. It's like the NHS, not very good, but I do think that prostate cancer screening is quite prevalent in any sort of normal medical routine.
Okay, before we say goodbye, one more story that's pertinent to the United States. Front page of The Sun. The headline reads, "It's all kicking off. World Cup scam chaos. FIFA illegal ticket hikes probe. US Congress and 3 states step in. FIFA faces legal action from at least 3 US states over claims it pushed up World Cup ticket prices by limiting supplies and switching categories." Is this embarrassing for the US and Trump? Angelina, very quickly, 30 seconds.
I mean, definitely, yeah. Everybody, we have all these high rates for hotels and, travel expenses. They're all being hiked up because of the World Cup. And right now they're saying that actually hotels are all empty as a result of these high ticket prices. And on top of that, they're saying that tourists, like cities like New York or San Francisco or LA, they're not getting their regular tourists because of the World Cup. So it's actually scaring people away. It's definitely embarrassing for the U.S. This is our World Cup, the first time they've been here in 30 years, and so hopefully
not the headlines they wanted. Angelina, thank you for your company tonight. Appreciate you. Greg, thank you very much as well.
Great
and
to be here,
Claire Muldoon, thank you as ever. Really loved having you on the show. And of course, the viewers and listeners, I'm back for my 10th show in a row tomorrow. I'm loving it. I hope you guys at home are loving it as much as I am. I'll see you tomorrow for midnight. Sweet dreams. Good night. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Another warm day in the southeast, so it will be cooler than yesterday. Dry for many of us, but there is a risk of showers and some thunderstorms, particularly in the southeast later on today. A damp start for parts of northern Scotland, some rain across parts of Northern Ireland too, but it's across the south we could see some thunderstorms build up from the near continent later on this afternoon. Dry weather in between these areas for much of England and Wales, and it will still feel warm out there. Temperatures in the mid-20s for many areas across central and southern areas, in the high teens, low 20s further north than that. Through this evening, those showers across the southeast where they do form should push away, and then we look to the north where low pressure is still dominating. Quite a brisk westerly breeze affecting coastal areas and the high ground of Scotland. Some outbreaks of rain, relatively light through this evening. Should be a dry end to the day across Northern Ireland, Northern England, parts of Wales, central areas too. You'll see temperatures still in the mid-20s, so it will still feel quite warm out there to end this week of exceptional heat. And then overnight, clear skies for many areas. We've still got quite warm air with us, so it's still going to be a fairly warm night, though certainly cooler than it has been lately. So that may bring some relief if you've been struggling to sleep throughout this week. Temperatures by tomorrow morning, just 11 or 12 degrees for many of us. Some areas seeing single figures to start the day, which could be the first time in a little while. Now, this band of rain pushes into parts of Northern Ireland, much of Scotland throughout Saturday. As we look further east, it looks much drier through the day, so plenty of sunny and warm weather to come through Saturday across parts of England and Wales predominantly. We'll feel warm in that sunshine still, not quite as warm as it has been, but still highs of 28 in the southeast and in the 20s elsewhere, so perhaps a little bit more pleasant. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me. Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.